What up, y'all? And welcome back to another episode of the What's Up Brodey podcast. This week we had Cozmo Lewis on, a good friend of Andrew. He's been on the podcast twice now. If you haven't listened to Andrew's episodes, you gotta pause this right now. Go back, listen to Andrew's episodes. They are fucking hilarious. But Andrew recommended Cozmo, and so we had Cozmo on, and it was incredible. Cozmo has an incredible mindset. He's a beautiful outlook on life. The man's been through it all. He's done a lot of different things. It was super inspiring. He taught me a lot of things in this episode, so I hope you get something from it. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode. And again, as always, shirts. I know it's kind of hard to see. Got a little my co-pilot, baby Logan here, that you can only see her eyes. But nonetheless, we have shirts. DM me for shirts. And yeah, hope you enjoy the episode.
We're going to clap together. You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. Hell yeah, dude. I don't know. That's become a new thing.
I like
it. Was,
I feel like it's track, like firing the gun. Like,
yeah.
We're out of the block.
Yeah, that and it was the very first episode we set up all the cameras, and it took us longer than we'd like to admit to set it all up. And so Travis and Kirsten, they were very patiently waiting for everything to get started. And we finally get everything in place. And we're like, okay, I think we're good. And I'm like, all right, I got to clap. And then Travis was like, do I need to clap too? And I was like, I thought about it for a second and I was like, fuck it, how about you clap too? And so now it's just been a thing for every episode. And I think I'm just going to keep that shit going.
No, I like it.
Clap every time.
It's like a team. Like,
yeah, it's fun.
Go.
It's fun.
We're playing for the Eagles now, baby.
Ooh, no, we're not. We're not playing for the Eagles. No,
Cowboys.
It's fuck the Eagles.
The Commanders. I don't know who you go for.
It's fuck the Eagles all day, every day. I hate the Eagles.
Actually,
I don't claim a team no more. I was a very diehard Cowboys fan for about 30 years of my life. And I can't support it. I just can't get behind it no more. And I think it ties back into what we were just talking about. People crave authenticity and genuineness now more than ever because we are constantly being lied to. And it's on camera, in our face, blatant as fuck. They clearly don't care. We'll pull up a clip here of fucking Jasmine Crockett, the Democratic senator, who just blatantly lied. And then when getting called out about it, tries to drop the shittiest excuse of all time. Have you seen this clip?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we'll pull it up here in a second. But no, you'll find it. Jasmine Crockett, Epstein. You'll find it on Twitter. It's super easy. It's a CNN clip. But now more than ever, people are craving authenticity. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but that's how I fucking feel. I think we're all just so exhausted of the bullshit. And the Cowboys, dude, Jerry Jones doesn't give a fuck about winning football. He does not care about actually winning football.
He's building a brand.
He's very good at making money. Hey, if that's your thing, cool. But I'm not going to sit here and keep rooting for your team.
See, that's exactly what you're talking about, professional sports. My whole family, big Cowboys fans as well.
Yeah.
I've always erred on the side of college. And I think even, without getting into where we are today and the authenticity, that's what I loved about it. The pros to me, and it sounds illogical, but they're too good. They're professionals. They go there, they do what they need to do. It's all structured. It's all that. And it's the underdog story of college. It's anything can happen. It's the quarterback's girlfriend broke with him the night before and he can't handle it and he's shook and everybody's like, why is he fucking up? I love that. That's life.
And that's super valid. I think people who do prefer college football over the NFL, I think they often say the same thing. I think, and you can go back. That's the beautiful thing about the 3 cameras is that no one knows it's actually there yet. No, but I agree, right? Well, I was a bigger fan of the NFL than I was of college football because I love greatness.
Yeah.
I love seeing the peak of human beings.
Yeah, I feel that.
I absolutely, I fucking love it. Like David Goggins, anybody that is doing something so extraordinary that's fascinating to me because I want to know, like, what the fuck keeps you up? Like, what keeps you getting up every single morning? Like a Jocko figure.
Yeah.
Like these guys that have an incredible level of discipline. And it's not necessarily that everybody in the NFL has that level of discipline, but I do love seeing how fucking good it could come together. Right? When like the Patriots were on their run, like I was never a Patriots fan, but you have to, if you love greatness, you have to respect what they did.
Oh, yeah.
That 20-year run was, I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Like it was insanity just to watch, no matter what. Didn't matter if they had nobody on offense, if they like were struggling with injuries. The year Matt Castle took them to the playoffs, it didn't matter. The system worked. Yeah. And that's fascinating to me. But on the flip side, I understand people who are like, man, I really just love the kind of authenticity of college football where people are fucking up. Yeah. They're dropping the passes. And I think there was a time where I got really frustrated with the NFL and still a little bit now where, you know, I think that we have hit a point in society where talent has eclipsed work ethic by quite a bit. Because now, no doubt, like we are in the most athletically talented era of all time, but it is not the best era of sports at all.
It's mindset.
The middle to like the mid 2000s will forever across the board pick a sport. It doesn't matter. It was the best. They were gritty. Mm-hmm. They were hungry. They had a little edge to them. They were a little mean. There was a little bit of fuck you, we're gonna beat y'all's ass. Like there was just a little bit more of an edge. Yeah. And now you see these really talented wide receivers catching one-handed passes, fucking, you know, almost damn near doing backflips and shit. And then they drop a 10-yard slant route. Larry Fitzgerald would have never, Antoine Bolden would have never, like these guys prided themselves on the fact that if it touched their hands, they were catching it. Mm-hmm. And they would be so mad. They were going to stay after practice and catch 1,000 balls if they dropped one, right? Like the craziest football stat of all time is Larry Fitzgerald had more tackles than dropped passes. That's the craziest that's the craziest football statistic. Might be the craziest sports statistic of all time. That is fascinating. And
Travis Hunter,
that's what I see. Yeah, right? All right. And so, you know, like I think we're in the most talented era. People are faster. They're bigger and faster. Strength and conditioning is better than ever before. Sports science, the whole 9 yards. We're seeding and fighting too. But it's like there was just something about the early 2000s, like middle of 2000s, all the way up until about like 2012-ish, where those guys, they were playing at a different kind of intensity.
Because they were football players. I feel like whether you're a businessman or an athlete or anything, it's branding, exposure, and how you're seen these days. And I feel like you can be somebody who may not be the best, but if people like you, for better or worse, whatever you do, that is almost more important these days than being the best.
Yeah. And, you know, fucking for better or worse, right? Like there's pros and cons to that. I think everybody should be able to make some money.
Yeah.
Your career's short. If you can build a brand, like I think Cam Scatterboo, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect example of what you're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, good football player. Is he going to be Adrian Peterson? No, probably not. But he is building a brand.
Yeah, people love him.
Yeah, because he was just on WWE. They got in that little scuffle, the whole 9 yards. And so, you know, he's under that impression that any publicity is good publicity. Mm-hmm. And I can't blame him for that. Yeah. But to your point, there was just something about guys who wanted to be fucking great. They didn't care about dick outs. They just wanted to be the absolute best. And that was the driving motivator. Now the driving motivator, for better or worse, is more money, fame, that, you know, they kind of just go in hand. And, you know, for better or worse, I think everybody should be able to make money. Career's short. It's a violent sport, just like fighting. I don't hate fighters who are, you know, building like a Kobe Covington. I don't really enjoy the act. It's not how I would go about it.
But it was his last gasp. He had to.
He was going to get cut. Mm-hmm. He had to. So like, I get it, right? But speaking of authenticity, since we pulled this up, do we have a sound on the TV right now? Oh, my bad. I didn't realize you weren't there. My bad.
I'm trying to keep her as entertained as possible.
That's valid. Do we have sound?
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
All right.
George Bush, Win Reagan, McCain, Hayden, Rick Blasio. You mentioned yourself that there is now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it's actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, the doctor that doesn't have any relationship with the doctor. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is a very good prior campaign of his. And do you want to correct the record on people doing it? I never say that it was that Jeffrey Epstein, just so that people understand when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said A. Jeffrey Epstein, unlike
A. Jeffrey Epstein. You can pause it now. That's it. That's all I needed. That's like the pinnacle of what we're fucking talking about. She stood in front of Congress. She knew damn well what she was doing. Mm-hmm. Whether their team just missed it, they didn't double check, whatever the case may be, she stood in front of Congress and started listing off of all these names, throwing people at the fucking bus, and just completely wrong. Mm-hmm. And all she had to do was just say, hey, my team missed it. We fucked up. Didn't see it. No, she doubles down. I said A. Jeffrey Epstein. A. Jeffrey Epstein. I wasn't saying that Jeffrey Epstein. I said A. Jeffrey Epstein. You knew what you were doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's just as we've been saying this whole time. I think people are more worried about that particular brand and image than it is what they're doing.
Which is crazy as a senator.
It's the same thing. I mean, people get into politics and...
Wait, is she a senator or is she in the House of Representatives?
I think representative is what they had.
Is she a representative? Anyway, regardless. But if you're serving the country...
you should be just doing that, serving the country. And, you know, I've tried to kick it around, somebody who had a small, not very illustrious stint in politics. And, you know, I am your middle American. You know, I have a small business and a few other things. And that's exactly the problem, is people are getting in, trying to lead, trying to do things that aren't exactly, they're not reaching for greatness in what they're doing. They're not reaching for greatness in trying to lead a country or lead a business or score a touchdown. They're trying to build a brand, to get that contract extension, to get that payment. And I think that's what's wrong with the country as a whole. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know what to do to fix it. But the one thing that I do know is you can take personal responsibility in yourself and those around you. You can affect those around you in your community, in your family, in your friend group, and whatever it is that you're doing. And I think cumulatively, if people, the only way that we as the people are going to get things straight, left, right, the otherwise, everybody can agree that it's so fucked up. I mean, even going back to what we were saying, like even athletics isn't what it used to be. It's to take that personal responsibility and try to reach greatness and be there for those around you and try to reach that greatness. And that is taking care of your kids. That's going to work, doing the best job that you can. That's doing whatever it is, chasing your passion, being happy, trying to find happiness. And I think happiness is found in purpose. And by finding that purpose and giving it everything you got, no matter whether you're tired or this or that, there's going to be leeches along the way that try to pull that from you and push you which way ever they feel like you should go. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think we as a society should think individually, and that spreads out to everybody else. It's like the STD chart. You know, you can affect 3 people, those 3 people. You know, eventually it's 385 million people here in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree. I think, so many people love to hate on Joe Rogan or say whatever they want to say. And, fine, have whatever opinion you want. But this is something he's preached since day one. All he's tried to do is just be as good as he possibly can be at everything he's done. And the outcome has been the more money than he probably could ever imagine. And it's to your point, it's like if everybody was striving for greatness, I do believe that everybody would come out better on the other end in the long term. You're probably going to be happier. You probably will end up making money. It might take a little longer. But then again, on the flip side, I think it's like a Cam Scattaboo, like these guys who are trying to build a brand in the moment and trying to make as much money as possible because they understand that it's a finite amount of time. But is it really finite, or are you just assuming that football is the only thing that you have? Like, are you so married to football that you think that if football was to end today, you still wouldn't be able to put this work ethic that got you to the NFL into something else and still be equally as successful?
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. I always preach to a lot of people who are willing to listen to anything that I say that I think so many people are so worried about, first and foremost, the financial aspect of whatever they're doing, which is a piece. Money can give you opportunities and give you comfort, but I always try to look at life holistically. You can have all the money in the world, and how many times do you hear billionaires who die lonely and depressed? So I would say, and I urge anybody listening to sit back and say, if I could build my perfect life, what would that look like? And most of them immediately are going to jump to money, but that lasts about that long. It's whatever it may look like. Me, I knew growing up, I wanted enough money to be comfortable. But I didn't need to live in a mansion with a million cars and everything. I just wanted to not have to worry about paying bills and struggling. I grew up fairly poor. So I know that stress. I just didn't want that stress to affect me. I knew that I wanted to find a good partner in life that wasn't just there, but motivated me to continue doing the things that may have scared me. We were talking about that earlier. I like living and being a little bit scared. So I need somebody that's going to stand up and say, come on, motherfucker, get it together. Try that thing. You do it. I knew that I wanted to be a dad. I knew that whenever that came to be, that I was going to go all in on that. And I knew that I wanted to write a good story. And I know growing up at a small town, coming from nothing, it would be difficult, but that never deterred me from not chasing fun and exciting things. And if you lay that all out on a map, you can very quickly get to a number, depending on where you want to live and the things that you want to do. Most people, you say, oh, I want to be I want $1 billion. I want $100 million. Most people would be fine if they had, a livable wage, $60, $80, $100,000, $120,000, but they spent time with their family and they got to pursue their passions and they got to spend time with their friends and their kids and their loved ones. And when you start looking at it that way, you're like, oh shit, there's more to life than just this. And I think kind of going back to our whole point, that integrity and that chasing a brand and chasing all of those things, when you realize that it's just one piece of what can make a life whole, some of the best moments in my life were free. And it sounds cliche, but having a good cup of coffee and a conversation with a friend, and especially if you're working your ass off and you're beat down and you're doing everything you can do, sitting outside. I live in an old farmhouse. Sitting outside on the front porch, we have a swing, early morning sun coming up, listen to that wind blow. I'm so beat down by the world that just feeling that warm sun, drinking my coffee, I wouldn't trade that for $1 million.
Absolutely.
And that's building that life holistically. Every piece of everything should be considered, not just my image and the amount of money in my bank account.
Yeah.
And my integrity.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? You have to be able to sleep at night. That's the tough one, You got to be able to lay your head on the pillow. I think that's always been kind of my guiding light, quote unquote. It's just I got to be able to put my head. Hey, you want to top that off, dude?
Oh yeah, man.
Some good coffee, eh?
It's gonna be a long night, buddy.
Yeah, we partying. No, I mean I think what you're saying, the most important part of it, or the most important aspect to sum it all up is you're building the foundation, right? So that way, if tomorrow an excessive amount of fame and wealth came your way, you'd be happy no matter what, right? Or if it doesn't come, you're still going to be happy to the end, right? And so I think that is the better way to do it. It's understanding what it is that truly makes human beings happy. Not this whole like, oh, well, I'm just a this kind of person. No, like really going to the root of it. We all kind of want the same thing: purpose, respect. We don't want to be lonely. We want people around us, friends, family, spouses, kids, whatever it may be. And understanding that, building this solid foundation, and then maneuvering through life with that foundation. And then if something was to happen where you got extremely rich or extremely successful, quote unquote, whatever that looks like financially, you're not going to be one of those billionaires or one of those, multimillionaires that off themselves, because you've had the foundation. You were already happy. The money just came.
Yeah.
And
it's icing on the cake.
Yeah. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about Joe Rogan, listening to him for, 10 plus years now at this point. The man is just a dude. Already had the foundation laid out. He was already happy. He was already chasing his dreams. And then an absorbent amount of money just came to him.
Yeah.
And you're not worried about that guy offing himself because, he's lonely or something. Dude has kids, a family, friends, surrounded by so many friends. He gets to hang out with them all the time. He just happened to make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can put yourself into that position and then grind your ass off and get to some whatever amount of money that you're looking for, if you have that foundation first, then life gets really fucking sweet.
Yeah. And I think that's why the focus should be on the other things. And I've been in a fortunate enough situation that I've crossed paths with folks who were multimillionaires and even a one or two potential billionaires. I don't know, but more wealth than I could ever imagine. And I've gotten close enough to them and to be able to have personal conversations. And that was one thing that led me to go from a corporate lifestyle to potentially throwing a Hail Mary and running a small business, was that they were financially successful, but every single one of them told me, I wish I spent more time with my family. I wish I would have treated my wife or ex-wife better, or I wish, I missed out on all of these things. And they're talking to the younger version of themselves. And I think that's why they open up, because most people who talk to these guys and girls are looking for something. They want to be where they're at. And I always approached it as, I don't care if you're down and out or in a Gucci suit. There's something to be learned there. There's a life experience to be learned. And I approach it like that. It's not give me an opportunity. It's, you've done something with your life. What would you do to continue that on? And what would you do to change it is a question that I always ask. And I think the what would you do to change it is always a big thing, because that is the crux of where people get really honest. And most of them have things that they would change. And some of the happiest people that are like, no, life is pretty fucking good, are the ones who have a balance. They're not the richest. They don't have the this or that, but they have everything that they want. And that hit me early on in my early 20s, mid 20s. And it hit me at a time that was able to shape my life, where I've made some decisions. And I mean, the book's still being written, so I don't know. We'll see. You'll just check back in with me, 15 years from now. But I would say right here, right now, I spend plenty of time with my family. I wish it could be a little bit more, but you're still trying to find that balance. I wouldn't change anything. If I had just a little bit more money and I wasn't a little bit worried about, making sure payroll is there and bills were paid and things like that were happening. But I'm getting there. I'm still in my early 30s. And if I check that box, I can honestly say my life is perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm just some guy that you would see at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of time and effort into that. I took those conversations to heart, and I looked at it as a blessing to be able to have those conversations early on. And, you know, that is something that I feel like more people should hear as early as possible. And even if they haven't, take a look at it now. Like I said, go back, do inventory of your life, look at it holistically. And we're just not seeing enough of it today. I mean, it's a big problem. And there's not much more that I feel that you can do than, like I said, that self-reliance, self-assurance, and you know, kind of taking inventory of what you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's more of it now. I think people are craving it. People are really seeking after it. I think people are seeing these very greedy millionaires, multimillionaires, and they're looking at them and they're like, that's not how I want to live my life. Like, sure, I want to be financially free, of course. But again, if you have that foundation and then money does come, you're just going to be so much better off because of it. And, you know, for those who are listening who don't know Cozmo is business partners with Andrew. Andrew's been on the podcast now twice. Super funny fucking guy, doing stand-up comedy on top of helping Cozmo out here with the small business. And so how is it that you two got to doing a cabinetry together?
So, yeah, we worked together at a former company. It was right along the time we were gearing up to start a big project. I worked for a mechanical contractor, and we got the bid to work on the Gigafactory here in Texas. And at the time, there was companies from all over the world bidding on this work. Nobody locally, really nobody even from Texas, where it was really even being looked at. And I was part of a small team who was selected. I shouldn't even been selected, and got put on it. We were going to see where it went. We had a long shot at a small PO to get this ball rolling. He got hired on to help our team out at the hopes that it was gonna grow. And I remember we typically in construction, you know, you're at the job site wherever that may be, but they were still doing earthwork. There's nobody had really started yet. So we're working at the corporate office, and we're right there with all the executives, and you know, we're in the next big project. We're feeling big, we're feeling good. The leader of our team at that point was in his early 30s. There's a bunch of 20 somethings that are working on this, and Andrew gets brought in, and I'm super stressed. I mean, this is the biggest moment in my life, well, I'll get into it later, but what led me up to even meeting Andrew and getting to this point is kind of a wild story. But I remember him coming in, and he's this wide-eyed Texas A&M grad. And anybody who knows Andrew has seen Andrew. He is a unique individual. He makes everybody feel good. He's the life of the party. He's one of the best stand-up comedians I know. That doesn't fit this environment. And even me at the time, that it was grinding me down. I was a curmudgeon locking myself in the office, and I see this kid pop through the door and just saying, "Hey, what can I do?" And, you know, at the time I remember seeing him, and I'm like, you know what? I need this in my life. I need more of that. And so it took a matter of 5 seconds to be like, I like this guy. And what ended up happening, and I'm sure he would tell you a similar story. We've kind of reminisced now that we're best friends, but the day went on. He ended up having some trouble with some other folks who were in a bad mood because of all the stress. And I just took a second to kind of take him under my wing and be like, hey man, don't worry about it. There's a lot going on here. The world is a wild place, but don't lose that spark that you have. And if you need anything or anybody's saying anything, just get with me. We're going to take this on, and we're going to do great things together. And I said that with literally maybe 5 minutes of knowing him, and the rest is history. We ended up taking on that project, and we were making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the company's doing great, and got to see Elon and one of the biggest projects of our generation go on, and we had our hands in all of that. And throughout that, the stress continued, but the relationship that I had with him and feeding off of kind of going back to that holistic lifestyle. I was so focused on career progression and making money, and having this guy that came in that, quite honestly, and we can say it now, didn't give a fuck about that. He wanted to do a good job. He's a smart guy. He wanted to work hard, but he wouldn't let that type of an environment bend him. That pulled me back to who I was and who I was baseline. So it brought me back to who I was. And we just found out that we worked well together.
Oh, yeah.
And throughout the time there's people dropping like flies. And I don't necessarily blame them. I mean, burnout, we're working 14, 16 hours a day, most days of the week. Project never shut down. One of the requests that I had was that he and I were in similar offices, either the same or next to each other, because we fed off of each other and we can bullshit and laugh. And there's none of that going on.
You made fun of it. You made fun out of it, right? This stressful fucking situation. Everybody needs an Andrew.
Yes.
They ground you. They bring you back and remind you that gratitude.
Yes.
That you should be grateful. You're working on the biggest, one of the biggest, projects of our generation. That fucking factory is huge for probably the most innovative, fucking crazy person. Just a absolute genius out of this world that we just do not, people still don't understand. And, do you think it played a role that y'all were this smaller Texas company in Tesla's decision to choose y'all?
So just like anything, I think there was twofold. We had a practical means. They had all of their production lines and everything here locally. So when you're working with a company out of California or Italy or Singapore, they just couldn't get
10 million square feet.
And growing. I mean, I've been out of this for a couple of years, but
this is where they do all the Model Ys, right?
So it was Model Y. Cybertrucks are coming out of there. They do have the infrastructure and tooling to expand beyond that. I don't know where they're going now, but they also have they do mostly everything in-house. Whenever I left, everything outside of the tires and maybe some of the internal components, everything else is manufactured there. They created their own cell batteries, painting, spraying, stamping. Every portion of that was all done right then and there. And it's just a matter of changing tooling to be able to do other models there.
Dude, hating on that company has been the weirdest turn.
Oh, yeah.
To watch it unfold. Jeff Dye was just on Joe Rogan. He was talking about how he drives his Cybertruck through LA and gets flipped off every single day.
So I have an interesting perspective on this. And I actually flipped my thought process on Elon as a whole, because I spent so many times looking out and I'm like, that motherfucker. I, for a while, was sitting there eating dinner at 10 o'clock at night. At the time, I didn't have my daughter, but my wife, God bless her, she was putting up with all of this. I thought it was going to be a year-long thing, and I was there for 4. But we're sitting there eating dinner out of a food truck because it's in Del Valley. There's nothing there. Yep. Watching all of the other guys on my team say goodnight to their family and their kids asking when they can come home. And they haven't seen them in days. And I have my wife, saying the same thing. And I'm like, this is just miserable. Why? Like, cars aren't that important. And I held a lot of anger towards that. And, the stress of doing it every day. It's kind of like, why? Going back to that, I'm looking at my life holistically, and it's like, why am I doing this? And it took me a while. I had to mature through that process. And I finally figured it out. It goes back to exactly what you're talking about before. He is a person that is striving for greatness. Bigger and better and greater things than 99.99% of the population.
Yeah.
He is the David Goggins of innovation.
Yeah.
I bet living with David Goggins would be a fucking hellhole.
Oh, yes. It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
It's not. I've heard plenty of people who worked for Tesla that didn't necessarily enjoy their time. And I can understand that. Mm-hmm. But to your point,
It's what it takes.
Yeah.
And so he built a pressure cooker, and coming from someone who's trying to run a company and having that understanding and living through it, I get it now. He's not trying to make cars. He's trying to make technology that, in his mind, will save the human race, that will get us off this planet, that will give us a shot of any catastrophe that's happening. And if you're living in that world and you're trying to manage thousands of other people, you're not only held by the timeline of if something happens to Earth or humankind, but my finite life of 70, 80, maybe 100 years, 120 if CRISPR keeps up the way it's doing. But he's trying to cram that all in quick. And when you're trying to manage thousands of people, the biggest thing you hear about corporations is everybody's a number, but it's true and it's not true. But when you're doing something like that and you're trying to strive for something that big, the mission is greater than a single person. It's just like, I'm sure Goggins, the end result is bigger than your feelings for that day. And you start looking at it that way and you're going, okay, I'm sitting here, and if I'm putting myself in his headspace, he's trying to change the world. He's trying to do the best that he can. And that's one of the most altruistic things that you can do. It's not, I'm trying to change my life or my family's life or my community's life.
Trying to change the fucking world.
The world. And when you look at it that way, I don't give a fuck if you can't handle it. There's somebody that's going to replace you. I don't give a fuck if you're going to slow us down. I can't have that. The means to the end of what I'm trying to do is way more important than any of your feelings or thoughts that you have. And so when you start looking at it that perspective, most of the people that I worked with hated their job, hated their life, hated what they were doing while they were there. But they were the ones who were bought in and the ones that felt that mission. And you're like, man, they're just dragging the boat behind them. And if you have that perspective shift of I'm in the boat being dragged or I'm the one doing the dragging, you get it.
Yeah.
And I see both sides. I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but you have to go in understanding what side of the fence that you're on. And if you are willing to say, hey, I'm part of this mission that could potentially change the world, what are you willing to sacrifice? I mean, you're Bruce Willis on Armageddon blowing the bomb.
Yeah.
And that's what wakes you up every morning. And that's the mindset shift. It's not, I'm trying to get a promotion to get, to do this, to do that, It's, I'm going to have my name etched in changing the world.
Yeah.
And that's what it took for me to figure it out and be like, I get it. I don't blame him.
It's interesting that we're talking about this because yesterday I was sitting down with a guy from Jiu-Jitsu, Ben. He just started his own financial company where he is essentially has a AI model that is they can help personal financial advisors advise their clients, etc. And we're sitting here and we're talking about it. And one of the questions I had for him is like, how do you limit the biasness in your model? Mm-hmm. Because no matter fucking what, dude, it doesn't matter that Tesla's been on the craziest 10-year stock market run. Had you put your money in Tesla 10 years ago and you put a pretty decent in it, you would be very well off. Mm-hmm. And I've had some success with that. But it does have its big ups and downs, just like Bitcoin kind of does. And you just, if you have the heart to stick with it, if you would have put it in 10 years ago, you'd be very well off. Mm-hmm. But no matter fucking what, on any trading website or articles, they'll always tell you to stay away from the Tesla stock. Even right now on Robinhood, it says it's like a 41% buy. And I asked him about that because I'm like, dude, each year they outperform every single time. And all you hear is, oh, they're overvalued, they're overvalued, they're overvalued, they're overvalued. And look, at the end of the day, how overvalued are you until you're just not overvalued anymore? Mm-hmm. Because, again, the numbers don't lie. It is on a crazy run. It's split multiple times. It hit 3,000 a share at one point, like crazy fucking run. And it's to your point, exactly what you just said. You had to shift your mind from, oh, cars aren't that important, into realizing the bigger picture of what you were working on. he doesn't own a car company. He owns a fucking technology company.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's doing with Robotaxi, what he's doing with the solar shingles, what he's doing with, SpaceX, even though they're technically separate, or XAI, or even X. We could sit here and talk about how this man probably saved the world just by buying Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at all of those things and it's just like, that's why the Tesla stock continuously goes up. No matter what, no matter how much all these people say it's an overvalued company, it's highly volatile, all these experts. And it just keeps going up because he is genuinely, for better or worse, for the people around him, for people like you said, it's not for everybody. I'm sure there's people listening to this right now that have worked for Tesla that disagree wholeheartedly with what we're saying, or they've had a very negative experience, or they were mad about him making everybody come back to the office, whatever it is. But at the end of the fucking day, I genuinely believe that that is what he's trying to do.
Yeah. And I may blow your mind with this. It's common knowledge, or I say common. I just found out, and I worked there for years. A lot of people think these companies are all separate. They're not. Boring Company is, underground technology, drilling, solar cars, rocketry. You do have Neuralink and X and all of that. That's all a conglomerate of ideas for us to be able to house a community on another planet.
Yeah, he essentially has built the craziest kind of brand, right? Yeah. When I think about my perfect life, I think like, you got a podcast. Oh, maybe I can do some Twitch streaming. Maybe I have a food channel. And all of it is this one big encompassing thing that leads up to me, right? Or whatever it may be. And he's doing that on the craziest scale of all time.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what I'm getting at is a lot of people will give him a hard time about, if we go to Mars and there's some sort of cataclysm or the sun, starts to grow and it's not going to be. What he's trying to do, just like when he got, a lot of blowback for rockets blowing up, is he's trying to test the limits. And he'll be the first.
He does it on purpose.
He does it on purpose.
Yeah.
So he's trying to build a completely full, well-built way to conduct life somewhere else. Mars is the first planet that we can reasonably get to. So if we can do it here on Earth and we can have solar cars that don't rely on combustion, we can have ways to drill underground, because more than likely we're going to have to go underground before it's terraformed and there's an atmosphere put together. All of these things are well thought through. And if we can do that here and we can do it at our sister planet right down the road, then we can do it anywhere. And you have to start here before you can get there. That's another big misconception. A lot of people drive Teslas because they think they're great for the environment. They're terrible for the environment.
They're not much better, no.
And he will be the first one to tell you that the technology is leading in the right direction, but it's not there right now. And people are willing to hang their hats on, I'm doing the right thing right now. And then he gets blowback because, oh, no, it's not. And he's a terrible person. It's this, that, and the other. No, it's the long-term goal of creating an autonomous society in another place to ultimately get back to his main goal, to save humanity. Yeah. And, just as you said, there's a lot of people who say that, he's a terrible person to work for and he's this, that, and the other. I lived through it and I was one of those people. But like you said, it's that that mindset shift of you look at all of those things put together, doing it in a reasonable, actionable way, that is the only way we're going to get there. Big ideas don't get you anywhere. Creating real, actionable things is what gets you there. Yeah. It's what gets it done here on Earth. It gets it done on Mars. It gets it done anywhere else that we need to. And kind of going back, it's a metaphor for life. You can think of, I'm going to be the best athlete, I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to do all of these things. But until you actually get up and start creating actionable goals, you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people should look in the mirror and reflect. And like I said, I can sit there and trade war stories with anybody who has anything negative to say, because I lived through it. And I'm sitting here on the other side, 2 years removed, looking back going, I get it now.
Yeah. Dude, he is extraordinary. Like there is only one. Mm-hmm. There's only one of them, right? I think Jeff Bezos is definitely I think in a way he's trying to do some similar things, but it's not, I don't think it's from the same place. I don't think it's from the same place in the heart. So many people don't know that Tesla has never increased their pricing to match inflation. That technically the Model 3 is it's them
in Arizona tea, man. 99 cents never goes up.
Yeah, dude. I was just I don't remember the exact math now, but if he wanted to increase, essentially right now, if he wanted to increase the pricing and to match inflation, it would be like the cars would be like 12 or 13 grand more, and the motherfucker just continues to lower the prices. He just lowered the Model 3 again to where it's like there's a 26,000 version where it's like $299 a month. Dude, I promise you, there's a lot of people listening to this. That's way less than your fucking car note.
Oh, yeah.
Way less.
I think the average price of a car these days is like $35,000, $40,000.
Yeah. Most people are paying $500, $600, $700, $800 a month for their fucking car. And this dude continues to just lower the prices. And there's just so many things he's done that just shows that money is not his main motivator.
No, he has money. He has all the money.
He doesn't buy cars. He sold all of his houses because they were rich shaming him. The motherfucker actually pays his taxes. That's another thing that people don't fucking understand. So many of these guys, they write everything off. And I think I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I would rather them put their money into charity or into correct places, quote unquote, versus paying all these fucking taxes and that money just goes to the ethos. But the dude paid $11 billion in taxes. $11 billion in taxes. That's more money than so many people will ever experience in their entire life. And he paid that to the fucking government that we know and he knows is not where that money should be going. But he does everything, quote unquote, the right way. He sold all of his houses because y'all fucking rich shamed him for so long. And so he sold everything.
375 square foot tiny home right now.
Yeah, he lives in a tiny home. 375 square foot tiny home. This dude doesn't give a fuck about money. He just, again, happened to make a dick ton of money because he is innovating constantly. And anytime I'm told to hate somebody, I'm already a foot out anyways. Like, I'm already, all right, I don't want to, you cannot like who he is as a person or his personality, or maybe you don't jive with him, or maybe you don't, maybe that's not how you want to live your life. You don't want to be this person that's constantly innovating or whatever the fuck it may be. But if you hate this dude, that is silly. And then for AOC to get on TV talking about he's the dumbest man I've ever met.
What up, y'all? I know I'm interrupting the conversation. I apologize, but I do need to quickly talk to you about Redmond Real Salt. I've been using this salt for a couple of years. I cook with this every single day. It is my absolute favorite salt in the entire world. And you now, as a What's Up Brodey listener, you can get 15% off by using the code Brodey, or on my Instagram in the bio, you can follow that link to checkout. You'll get 15% off as well. Now, back to the conversation.
It just goes back to, again, this authenticity. Like, what do we, like, let's just go back to somewhat common sense. Yeah. Yeah, he sold, I think he had like 11 or 12 properties. He sold them all. I don't get it. I don't get how you could just hate this man. Again, if you don't like his personality, or if you think he's narcissistic or whatever the fuck, that doesn't matter. What he is doing is extraordinary. And again, for AOC to sit there in front of a fucking camera and say, this is the dumbest man I've ever met, and for people to actually believe that is so crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of like I had started at the beginning. You know, it's difficult for me to sit here from this table and dictate what people should and shouldn't think. But I do feel like it's really hard to cast a stone at someone you've never met.
Yeah.
You don't know what they have behind you. I just personally admitted that my mind had changed after the fact, and I was as close as you can get without somebody who's in his circle. And I think that's a big problem with people in general these days, is they're not focused on themselves. They're always focused on the other, and casting blame and pointing fingers and doing all of these things, making up things or feeling a certain way. You need to focus on yourself.
Yeah. And in tandem to that, you're living in fucking reality.
Yeah.
You're not sitting here saying Elon Musk is a dumb person. To me, if you make that statement and you believe that statement, you are living outside of reality, because you're clearly not fucking paying attention. Yeah. You're not paying attention to anything real. You're swallowing the propaganda as deep as it goes, and then you're then putting that back out into the world. So that just tells me, A, you don't live in reality, and B, you just want to be told what to think, because you're not thinking for yourself. Because anybody who's looked into this man at all, or have even listened to this man, he has so many long form episodes on so many different podcasts. Pick one and fucking just listen to this man talk. Mm-hmm. And so many people are making their opinions off of a 45-second snippet, and they're making this they're getting so charged up and getting so angry, where it's like, dude, just sit down. Obviously people's attention spans are pretty crazy. I was on the plane, and I downloaded a bunch of episodes, a few Joe Rogan episodes, a few Andy Frisella episodes, and they're all like multiple hours, right? That's really the only kind of content that I take in, is usually some form of long form content. Because again, I want to know the ins and the outs. I want to truly have somewhat of a sound opinion. Mm-hmm. I want to really, I can't understand Cozmo if I only know Cozmo for 45 seconds. Mm-hmm. You can't just leave and be like, oh, I fucking hate that guy. I mean, you can, but it's asinine. That's really silly. And so here I am on the plane, and I'm very clearly watching one thing for the entire flight, right? The episode was about as long as the flight. And I'm sitting next to this woman who, dude, she just couldn't fucking decide what she wanted to do. She would read a page of her book, and then she would go back to her phone, and then she'd go back to her laptop, and then she'd go back to her phone, and then she'd read another page of her book. And the attention span was no longer than maybe 2 to 3 minutes. She couldn't, whether she could or couldn't, from my observation, it was just like seeing it firsthand. She had all three of these things in her hand, like right there in her seat, and she was just bouncing back and forth. And I mean, she couldn't have read more than like 5 pages of her book. Mm-hmm. And I just remember just sitting there and just be kind of like, this is fascinating to see in real time. Like, just pick one, dive into it, and enjoy it. Yeah. And, we always talk about people's attention span and da-da-da-da-da. But it is fascinating to just watch it in real time, where she was just fucking bouncing around. Then she would go to putting everything down, and then just kind of like looking around and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, dude. And here I am just staring at the one same thing for 3 hours, just fucking diving in. And I think it's a testament of that. People don't know what they're actually truly interested in. Yeah. They think they're interested in these little short snippets, and they think they're interested in scrolling, but you're not interested. It's just short enough so that you keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Because if you're really, really interested in something, you can sit there and do it for hours. It's the whole ADHD argument. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's passion. You just exactly what you're about to hit on. It's, you have one person that says that, kid can't pay attention in class, but he likes to paint, and he'll paint for 5 hours. Yeah. And I think there's not enough doing these days. Like I said, there's theoretical, I want to do this, I want to have an opinion on this, I feel this way, but they're not doing. And that's one thing that shaped my life, was I want to get in there and do it. And I didn't feel like I had a ton of prospects growing up. As I mentioned, single father, trying to make it the best that we could. He had a whole lot going on. He had medical issues. He actually had 3 joints replaced in his body by the time he was 35. Technically fully disabled, kept a full-time job as a single parent. I'm raised in that, and I'm looking at my life as a prospect of there's a high possibility I may lose the person that is my support system. What am I going to do? How am I going to accomplish that as a 12, 14, 16, 18-year-old kid? I had to start doing. And when I started doing is when I started realizing, yeah, shit's scary. It's hard. You're not going to be good. It's going to be humiliating. But what happens is you get better. Yeah. And as you get better, you start to get used to being scared and freaked out, and you build the amygdala, and things become not necessarily easier, but the process of jumping in the deep water gets easier, and you know what that feels like. And you start getting that self-gratification. And then once you start doing, you start figuring out what you really enjoy. And that's what gives you the purpose. That's what gives you that trajectory and that happiness. And things, like you said, people are just looking for the next thing, thinking that's what they want to do. And that's how they're going to get the gratification in life. No, stop scrolling, stop doing this, stop doing that, start doing.
Yeah.
And it can be anything. And I would suggest, and this is actually kind of a leech of a Peterson thing, but one of the best things that I held from a book of his or a video of his or something that he said, a quote of his, is that if you don't know what to do, start doing and figure it out later, because you're making tracks closer to figuring that out. And I've done a lot of that in my life. And I'm at the point now to where if there's an opportunity that feels like it's going to be a net positive, go in there and figure it out and get it done. And it's not that scary. And anybody, cliche here, but anybody who's ever been through that and have done that, they're going to understand. They're not going to make fun of you. They're not going to put you down. Anybody who's been in the gym is not going to make fun of the person who it's their first day. It's the other people who feel bad about themselves. Anybody who goes into anybody who goes into a boxing gym, a Muay Thai gym, a jiu-jitsu gym, it's the scariest fucking thing you can do if you're not in that world. And I respect anybody who walks through that door, and we all know they're not going to be good.
No, you're going to get played with like a little kid.
You're going to get played. Yeah. But their biggest fear is, you hear it a million times, I don't want to go there. I'm going to get beat up.
Yeah.
You're going to get beat up in a fun way. Yeah. People you're going to learn, you're going to feel like you're getting beat up, but you're not. Yeah. They're also the most caring, loving, joyful people that you'll ever meet. And I've heard time and time again, I've been in combat sports since I was 13. I went in and this was the most fun I've had. Those are the nicest people. They realize most of the people in there are super nerds too. They think they're a bunch of meatheads. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, anybody who's in it will tell you that, but you just don't believe it until you start doing. Yeah. You don't realize that there's more to the book than the cover.
It's true. It took me 5 years. It took me 5 years to walk into the Muay Thai gym. And I think about that a lot because it's exactly what you're saying. And I've been utterly guilty of what you're saying in the opposite fashion, right? I've been the scared guy, or, I still am, right? Like I still struggle with that self-confidence. And shit, dude, I mean, just doing this for the last couple of months again, the first go around, we really didn't really have a lot of technical issues, but I wasn't handling it. I had somebody else that was handling it, and clearly more stressful than I was aware of because he decided he didn't want to do it no more. And now doing all this, doing the editing, doing the production, between the two of us, and I've made countless mistakes just in these last, what are we on? Last 17 episodes, right? Like fucking Big Dan's audio. Dude has the biggest following, a loyal following, and I completely fucking shaft the audio. It records from the phone. And it's just like, fuck. The very first time we did the multicam setup, that phone over there died. It's like, fuck. Died with like 30 minutes left. And I was like, so fucking close. So close, right? And to your point, it's like, it seems like all these things are that big of a deal. But they're not.
They're not.
You learn from them. You continue to move forward. And the Muay Thai thing, I think about a lot because I'm like, fuck, dude, like where would I have been had I started all this at 22 and not 27?
the age-old debate with any martial artist. I should have started young.
That's a big difference, dude. I started 22, and who knows what I could have done in any facet of it, whether it's Muay Thai, whether it's jiu-jitsu, whether whatever, MMA. It's crazy because it's just like I love it so much, and I can't even imagine not doing it. And it took me 5 years to finally do it. And it's like, fuck, dude, it's something you can't get back. You can't get back those 5 years. And the difference between a 22-year-old body and a 27-year-old body, especially because those 5 years in between, I was doing CrossFit.
Oh.
And so my shoulders are wrecked, all my back, from the stress, from what you do in CrossFit. And it's just like, damn, dude, the difference between those two things or those two time frames is crazy. You don't get that time back. And to your point, just the only remedy is action. That's it.
Yeah. And just be content with the fact that you did and you found it and it's a big part of your life. And I think that not just action, but, talking about like combat sports in general, what got me into it? We, when I was younger, grew up in a little small podunk town, and we would throw on whoever's gloves we had and just beat the shit out of each other. And it's like, okay, I'm pretty decent at that. And but I loved it. There's something in it that I loved, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And we ended up moving to Georgetown a couple of years after that. I was looking for a boxing gym. I started boxing a little bit before, and it was like I kept being pulled back. In my head, I was a football player. I was a track guy. I played team sports, but there was this fire in me that just loved it. Not that I was the best, not that I did. I loved it. And so I wanted to find a boxing gym. I just moved to Georgetown. I moved there a summer before I started school. Didn't know anybody. I went from a town of 3,000 people to Georgetown, which was 100,000. I mean, it wasn't as big at the time, but to me, I might as well move to New York. And so I'm big city living, not knowing anybody, can't drive. I'm too young for that. And I'm like, I need to find combat sports. And I started there, and that's actually how I got my introduction into MMA. I found what I was hoping was a boxing gym, and it turned out to be, I laugh because they were doing the best they could at the time, but we were being taught MMA by an amateur fighter who had 3 fights. He was a blue belt, maybe a purple belt, had maybe 1 amateur boxing match, and he was our head coach. But that was at the time, nobody even knew what MMA was. Yeah. So, and I didn't. And so I got to feel what jiu-jitsu was and a little bit of Muay Thai. And I got the boxing that I was craving. And really what I was craving was that personal conquering of my own fears. I was scared shitless. I was in a new town, didn't know anybody. I'm about to go to a school with more people than that had in my town. And I needed some sort of reprieve. And what I found in combat sports is it's a microcosm of life. You get in there, you're scared shitless. You don't know what's going to be thrown at you. You could be in there with somebody that, you can manhandle and you can win. You could get put in there with somebody that's not on your level. That's what happens in life. And what I was finding as an anxious, somewhat depressed, scared kid was conquering those little bouts of fear and going in there and doing well and sparring. Just showing up and walking through the door was me getting small wins to then start winning at life. And that's what I loved about combat sports, is that at the end of the day, nobody gave a shit. Just like you were saying, nobody's watching this kid that's walking in there and like, oh, he did pretty good today. Let's go put him on. No, nobody cared. But to me, it was the world. And by learning that and conquering that and getting those small wins, when I showed up to two-a-days and there's 300 kids on the football field and I'm freaking out, it's like, all right, well, I mean, I've been there. I sparred with a 35-year-old man 2 months ago. Like if I can do this. Yeah. And that's what started building my confidence in conquering things in life. And I think that's so important. Going back to the just doing it, finding, and it doesn't even have to be combat sports. I urge anybody out there, try something. It will change your life. And if you just, for whatever reason, can't do it, find something that is a microcosm to give you wins in life. I started long distance running, which I feel like is a similar type of thing. It's actually because of Andrew, bringing him back up. He ended up moving. He lives about a block away from me. Never was a runner, hated running. Combat sports athlete. I was a competitive boxer for a long time. I would cheat on my runs that I was supposed to do. I would hit the bag all day. I would spar all day. Didn't like running. And I saw that motherfucker running by my house every time I would take out the trash. And we got in running. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm just going to start running. All right, well, if you're going to run, I'm going to run. And if we're going to start running, I'm like, why are we running? We need to set a goal. And so I started looking up. All right, well, if we're going to run, we're going to do a 10K. No, that sucks. Let's not be pussies. We're going to do a half marathon. No, it's better, but no, nobody cares about that. We're going to do a regular marathon. No, let's do an ultra marathon. We're going to be Cam Hanes and this motherfucker. And we're like, all right, mind you, we were 3 weeks into running 2 miles around the neighborhood. So I just scrolled through local ultra marathons, clicked on one, 6 months from the day that we were sitting there. It's February, January, February. It's in the middle of June or July. And I'll make my point and then finish the story because it's a good one. But I totally urge people to try combat sports because it's a microcosm of life. If for whatever reason you have an apprehension and you don't want to try it, try running first. And then I feel like you're going to make that jump because what you do is you set a goal. You get scared shitless. You have to train. You have to be disciplined. That looming day is coming. And then you have to go out there and you have to perform. And the ultra marathons or a long distance, whatever you can do, whether it's a 5K, you get out there, you get scared shitless. You realize that the discipline and training is going to pay off, or it's not, and you have to pay the tax on what you didn't do as you should have done. And you go there and you finish it or you don't finish it. And most of the time people finish it and you feel good about it. And you realize that you can overcome all of those anxieties by doing and performing and being disciplined and figuring it out and training and going down YouTube wormholes. And that can carry over to anything in life. And I say that to tell you the story that I was leading up to. Sometimes in life, you get thrown a curveball. So we set this ultra marathon because we're going to be big badasses and we're not runners.
What was the distance of the ultra marathon?
So it's the shortest distance because ultra marathon, everybody thinks, 100, 200 miles. It's the shortest distance that is a typical ultra, which is a 50K. It's 32, 30. Yeah, I say 32, whatever. Anybody who's ran an ultra knows they never measure those motherfuckers correctly. And it's supposed to be 32.6 miles. It always ends up being 34, 36, something like that. You figure it out. So anyways, we're training for this ultra and we're starting to take it a little bit more and more serious and we're running road races. But just as anything he and I have done, we put a lot of hard work and effort into it, but we're having fun the whole time. We're shooting the shit and we're running and we're following running Instagram influencers and making fun of the stuff that they're doing and we're like, we can do that. And then we get closer and closer and closer to the race day and we're feeling as confident as ever. And at the time, Andrew had trained jiu-jitsu. We were at 10th Planet here in Austin, the main HQ in Austin. And, I grew up in combat sports and we're like, if we can fight people, we can run. It's 1 foot in front of, that's what I always tell them. It's 1 foot in front of the other. We can't be that bad. A week before the race, we're both still working at our former company in the midst of the whole Tesla debacle, which we touched on, stressed out, tired, overworked, middle of the summer in Texas. We had just brought home our little girl. I'm a new dad of 2 weeks. Yeah. I'm up all night long. My wife, for those of you who don't know, we adopted. So she didn't have to go through the postpartum taking care of herself. She was still able-bodied and as a trooper. Love that woman, strong woman. So we were splitting duties, but still, she's doing as much as she can to help take care of me. She's a small business owner as well. She has her own plate that's full. And because she's able-bodied, she's willing to step up and help. But I'm still waking up in the middle of the night, still becoming a new dad. Going through the whole adoption process was emotionally taxing for various reasons. And our air conditioner goes out. And so I'm sitting here in a 100-year-old farmhouse with a newborn baby, a wife that's still working and is just as stressed out as I am, looking at Saturday is this race. What are we going to do? And I have to step up and man up and figure it out. I start trying to work on it myself. I need some more parts. I call out a local company because I don't have the time. They change out a compressor. The bills just stacking up. Still not done. Second day, third day, fourth day. It's Thursday. I have a plan in place. I'm trying to get it done. We have window units in the rooms. We're terrified that our little girls, and we're the worst. We just started this. We're the worst parents in the world. That's getting to me. And end up having a plan in place to get that fixed. But with everything going on, I'm not taking care of myself the way that I should. Night before the race comes, that Friday, work all day. I'm stressed out from the air conditioning situation, the newborn situation. My work life is all over the place. I'm not eating. I don't eat all day. I get home and Caitlin's like, hey, we need to get some food in you. Let's get some pasta. You need to carb up. You have some calories. I hope you've been eating and drinking water. And I'm looking back and I'm like, I haven't drank water in all day. So I pound some pasta, drink some water, and go home. I'm going to try to get a good night's sleep. Not going to happen. Wake up.
Is the AC still out?
AC is still out, man.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is I come from an air conditioning background. My grandfather had an HVAC business. I was an HVAC tech for a long time. I'm working as a project manager for an HVAC and plumbing company. I should have had this fixed. It's a whole long debacle. So any of you techs out there listening to this, I promise you I don't suck that bad. There was more to it than I realized at the time. So I'm sitting here. I'm absolutely exhausted. I have one meal in me. Andrew and I go to do our packet pickup, and we get there. And it's at a ranch in Killeen. Shout out Ashley Forsey, wonderful ultra runner, set up one of the best damn races ever. But if she ends up listening to this, she'll attest to this story and tell that it's true. We show up, and this particular race was being set up by Ashley. And she's a pretty well-known and respected ultra runner. And so it's her first race. She's putting a lot into it. And the folks who are showing up and showing support are all professional ultra runners. And we're looking around. There's people from all over. There's RVs parked out there. It's scorching hot. There's guys that are leather skinned and grizzled, and women that are ripped, 0% body fat. Andrew and I are coming off of running a couple of 10Ks and working a bunch and probably drinking way more than we should have throughout this whole process with zero knowledge on what we should do. We just get off work, button down, khakis, dress shoes, and we're walking through the dust of this ranch, looking at all of these people being like, oh, fuck, well, we can't back out now. So we walk up to packet pickup, and of course, there's a dude there that's shirtless that's eating a watermelon with a knife that's sitting in a hammock, and he goes, "Oh, are you guys here to help out, or you making a donation? What are you guys doing here?" We're like, "Oh no, we're here to run." Oh, okay. Let me go get somebody. So he pulls out some of the folks, and they're like, "Okay, you're here for packet pickup." And most of these races, they have different distances that you run. Sometimes there's a 10K or a 25K, or sometimes they'll do veteran sponsored rucks, or civilians can do it too. And we're like, no, we're here for the big one. Just put our dick on the table. We're here for the big one. And I'm like, oh, have you ever ran one before? Nope. Have you ever ran before? Looking at us. Yeah. We've done a few road. We've done some 10Ks, and we did a half marathon. We got this. And they're like, just so you know, there's going to be EMS and firefighters, and there's going to be all of these things. And if you need, here's the emergency line. If you need to call, here you go. All right, yeah, no, we got it. We high five, and they're like, oh, these guys are going to.
they're going to. They're taking the over under. What's the chances of one of them passing?
And they're looking, and they're like, oh, this is our first race we're putting on.
June.
It's June.
Yeah.
And the weather was pretty mild. That particular Saturday was going to be the first triple-digit day of the year. And so they're like, do we have enough insurance for this race? Because these two soft-handed yuppies will never make it. So we high five and we're like, wow, this is a crazy experience. So race day, we show up and still exhausted, got no sleep. I'm hyped up like I'm going to go play in the Super Bowl. And we start looking around and we're like, oh shit, these are some real runners, but we're going to make the most of it. So we start chugging along and we're in pretty good shape. We make it. It's a 16-ish mile loop. First loop's in the morning. It's still fairly cool. We were trying to hit 8 hours as our goal, which is an okay time. But for a first time, we just wanted to finish. We make it in 3 hours, 45 minutes, right around 4 hours. We're right on pace. Well, there's aid stations along the way. And then the main camp is like where everybody's set up. And they have food trucks and a stage set up for after the race. And they turned it into like a really cool event. But that's where all the families and friends and things were hanging out. And so we get around. We're feeling good. Mind you, at this point, everybody else has just booked it. But so there's still some people that are hanging out. And we're feeling good. His girlfriend and my wife's there. Little baby's there. And she's got little pictures with our face on. And we're feeling good. And we see this guy hoofing it up. And I'm like, oh shit, we're actually beating somebody. Turns out he was this guy, I think he was from New Zealand or Australia. He was finishing the race. They were like, all right, that's cool, whatever. Popped our confidence down a little bit. But the people who had started are like, oh, okay, these guys are still in it, still looking good. Here's some salt tabs. Get going. We get about a mile down, sun comes out. And it immediately becomes survival mode, man. We are walking, the sun's scorching. I'm obviously fair skinned. I'm sunblock just as much as I can do. We start going. We're trucking along. We start losing pace. And we're going and going. And we start getting to a point to where we're like, are we going to finish this thing? And
where are you at? Where do you think you're at right now?
We're probably 20. I remember. Okay, I do remember. We had passed the 26.2 mile. We did. It was our first marathon.
Yep.
We're like, hey, we ran a marathon, and that's when it all came crashing down. We still had another 10 plus miles to go. So, anyways, and that's the other thing about ultras is it's out on a ridge. 98% of it, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And luckily, I had my buddy with me. We're yucking it up, and but at this point, it's pure survival. And we're walking and it's also like 6 to 8 miles between aid stations. So like you kind of have to make it. And so we're like, all right, we're going to get to the next one, reevaluate. We're going to get to the next one, we're going to reevaluate. And we eventually get to the point to where we're maybe an aid station or two out. So we're maybe 10, 15 miles out. And EMS comes up and they're like, are you guys okay? We're not. I mean, we are sitting under trees, taking breaks, but I'm at the point I'm like, dude, we're so fucking close. I got to get this. And going back to the moral of this is like, you just got to get through and you face those fears. And Andrew's delirious at this point. I'm like, dude, we got to get it together. And if you can't figure this out, like we're going to carry. And he buckles up. We get going, and they go, okay. We're just going to keep making paths around. Some people are pulling out. We've had a lot of medical pullouts at this point. And we're going to let you go now. But if you're doing any worse than you are now, we're going to have to pull you. It can't happen. So we get down to our last aid station, 6 or so miles before the finish. We're spent. Same firefighters, EMS pull up. They're talking with us, trying to evaluate. I put on the best act that I ever have. Oh yeah, no, we're good. We're just hanging out. We're tired. We want to finish strong. So we're going to take some extra time. Mind you, they have buckets of ice water and we're pouring it. So I had so much pickle juice and electrolytes. I'm swollen up like a cranberry. And we decide we're going to carry on. And we keep going and keep going, keep going. And at this point, I get a phone call from Caitlin. And she goes, hey, I've been tracking you guys this whole time. It looks like you're 0.2, 0.3 miles away from the finish. And we could hear the camp. And we're like, oh, fuck, dude, we've got it. we get another boost of energy, and there's a road that came up. She pulled up and we actually saw her. She's like, 0.2 miles. And we hear the camp. Fuck yeah. So we start going, and then all of a sudden the route takes us away, and the camp starts getting more and more quiet, and we get further and further away, and then it's completely quiet, and we're about a mile in. And I love my wife to death. And I was like, I fucking hate you. You lied to me. It was life and death. It turns out, yeah, we were 0.3 miles away. And then the course routed back around. And we had like another 4 miles to go, 4 or 5 miles. And that was the first time I learned that they never measure these things correctly, because it ended up being, even if we did the math and in our delirious heightened state, we're like, we should be close, no more than a mile or two. 1 mile went by, 2 miles went by, 3 miles went by. We finally get close enough to where we can see the camp, and the director comes up and she runs up and is like, you guys made it. Oh my God. Well, now you have to finish strong. There's 100 people down there. I'm like, so we are hobbling, trying to make it, and she's running with us, and we're getting these cheers and everything. We're like, oh dude, like they're acting like we won the race. We get there, hug, we did it, we survived, we did this. And we're like, what place are we in? Well, if you take out the medical, people got pulled out, and there was a couple other folks that didn't show up. Last place. But we finished. And the whole moral of that story is that we were treated with respect by these top performers, these guys that killed it, as if we won the race, because we started the night before as being two guys that didn't belong there. And we finished as kind of minor heroes in this, because everybody was betting against us and we did it. And by doing so, those people who are actually doing shit, those doers, realized these guys just did something. And we ended up celebrating, making friends, gained so much respect. All of the same grizzled people were kind of giving us side eyes at the beginning became some of our best friends. And we ended up becoming, like I said, really good friends with the race director and some other folks that were there, invited out to these other crazy races. And what we learned, or what I learned, was that you never know what's going to happen. You need to be prepared in whatever you're doing and take it serious. But at the end, you don't have to be that guy. You can strive to be that guy. And if you want to be that guy, by all means, be that guy. But you can still get that same level of accomplishment by running a random ultramarathon in a random place with a bunch of random people and feel like you did something. And I think that's, once again, a microcosm of life. The anxiety, the discipline, all of the things it takes to be successful. If you do it to your best ability and you fight and face those fears and you get it done, you can feel that level of success. And that translates, whether you're doing an ultra marathon, a jiu-jitsu competition, you're doing your first sparring in the gym, you're walking through the door. Doing those things is how you get things done in life. So when you step in and you're trying to close a deal in business, or you're trying to talk to the pretty girl at the bar, if you finish that ultra marathon or you walk in the gym, it makes everything else in life easier. And it makes it easier because you learn the things that you have to do to prepare to get there. So to cap off that story, later that night, I ended up having to go to the hospital. That is a true story as well. Yeah. I'll be the first one to admit, because, people don't always want to tell the true story. I felt pretty good after the race.
Was it kidneys?
I was almost dealing with rhabdo. I ended up just severe dehydration, ended up going to bed, feeling good, ate some dinner, woke up in the middle of the night, started vomiting everywhere. And I remember vomiting in the toilet, laying down. We have a tile floor, laying down and just being like, this is the coldest, best feeling tile I've ever had. And then I shit my pants. And so there's throw up in the toilet. There's throw up in our sink. I have made a mess of myself, and I'm feeling guilty of like all of the things that I explained. Still no AC, still baby, still a wonderful wife trying to deal with all of this stuff. And I'm like, the last thing I need her to see is it being midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and her husband covered in throw up and shit all over my. So I'm feeling guilty, and I'm trying to crawl out to clean it up. And I end up just like passing out right there. I covered up. I started getting cold, started covering it up. Luckily found me, got me to the hospital. Fluids, a day in the hospital later, I was feeling like $1 million. And almost a year to that day, I ran my second one. So, and felt better. We did it in November. My wife did it with us. It was good. No problems or complaints. And I don't want that to discourage anybody from doing it. Poor preparation, even though I got the job done, poor preparation was the whole reason that happened. So anyways, yeah, a little life story and a metaphor for life. Right
no,
there.
it's fucking fantastic, because a lot of people will think about the hospitalization part and be like, well, I don't want to do that part.
Yeah.
Right? But that shouldn't be a deterrence of doing something that you want, nor should you quit on yourself. Right? And so you had every reason to quit. Why didn't you quit?
That is a really good question. And I think that gets into a really deep piece of what I am at my core. My biggest fear in life isn't necessarily dying or spiders or any of the things that you hear. My biggest fear is being on my deathbed, looking back at my life and having regrets and not having a good story and missing out on opportunities. And so from a young age all the way through, I do everything in life and I make the decisions by the sheer fact of, is this making my book better? Is this going to be a fun chapter in Cosmo's book of life? And if it's a yes, even if it's hard or scary, I say, let's go figure it out. Because every book has ups and downs. Every character has flaws. Every character has wins and losses. But you can't write a good book by not doing it. And along the way, you get better and you learn how to do things a little bit better, and you learn how to network with people and handle people and the psychology behind it. But I have one mission, and that's creating a good story. And signing up for that ultra is a good story. Walking into that MMA gym is a good story. Quitting my job and starting a business is a good story. Ran for mayor of my small town. That's a good story. So, yeah, a lot of the things that I do have to do with that. And I respect anybody who's willing to write their own book.
Yeah. The underlying premise there is it's me versus me. Mm-hmm. And that is the one thing about combat sports that is unavoidable. Mm-hmm. It is very easy when you play football or a team sport to be like, well, if Cosmo would have just made that fucking kick,
yep,
I would have won. We would have won the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cosmo's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of great aspects of team sports. You learn how to, be a team, right? You learn how to work with people. You learn how to maneuver personalities, etc. But man, there is nothing like doing solo sports.
Oh yeah.
And it's coming from, I did both. I played football since I was 4 to senior year of high school, played football. And there's nothing like competing in solo sports, especially combat sports, because the consequences are dire.
Yes. And
the underlying premise is that it's you versus you. Doesn't matter who you're about to go against. None of that matters. It is how you handle those things. You had every reason to quit. The AC's out. You just brought home a new baby. You fucking probably could have trained a little bit better, a little bit harder, a little bit smarter. And you could have pulled out. And really, in reality, nobody would fucking care. Nobody would think anything different of you. I might judge you. But the ones of us that understand at the core what it means to do what you did, right? Us, we would probably look at you and be like, damn, Cosmo, you probably should have done it, right? But the mass public, nobody gave a fuck. You didn't win any money.
You got nothing.
You know, it doesn't matter.
I actually lost money. I had a hospital bill at the end of it. So.
Yeah, right. Like nothing from that aspect came from it. Had you not done it, you just wouldn't have met those people. Whatever. That one day just wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have went to the hospital. But the people who understand what it is that you're saying and are trying to do what it is that you're trying to accomplish, they understand like how much it means to still follow through with it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something, again, you know, that I'm trying to focus on in my 30s that I didn't do when I was younger. I quit football.
Mm-hmm.
I quit between junior and senior year. I was streaming video games before this. Was doing, I mean, you know, people were watching. Made, you know, a couple $100 one month. It was cool.
Awesome.
Quit. Just because I didn't want to, like, just because there was no games I didn't want to play anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't want to, like, put the effort into learning a new game. I was playing Fortnite. That's fucking what I wanted to play. And they ruined the game. And, because, I mean, at the pinnacle, at the peak, the first couple of seasons, Fortnite's like nothing else, dude. I mean, it's the competitive aspect was fucking exhilarating. Mm-hmm. And when they ruined the game, tried to make the game very kid-friendly or very... you know, they came out and said that they didn't want it to be competitive. They stopped doing the world championship, the whole 9 yards. My buddy and I, we almost qualified for the qualifier for the world champion. And so they fucked the game up, and then I just decided, well, I don't feel like learning a new game, so then I just stopped. I just quit, right? Did this, 39 episodes in, quit. Just because I didn't want to do the editing. I didn't want to do the little things. I didn't want to do the hard parts, you know. Growing up, all my teachers have always said, you know, if Jordan if you just put a little bit more effort in, he'd be great. And it's always been the story of that. Like, I've always been good enough. I can go play soccer. Yeah. Like a pickup soccer game. And you'd think I'd played soccer. Mm-hmm. No, not really. I played soccer when I was 4. You know, I could sit here and play ping pong with you and still make it somewhat competitive as long as you're not, you know, pro, right? Mm-hmm. But we can sit here and have a competitive game. I can go to the bar and play darts, right? I can play pool just good enough. And I've been able to do all of these things just good enough. And the curse of that has been I never really worked hard at any of those things. They all came very natural. You know, Muay Thai, boxing, the perfect example. Now, the outcome of working hard was that belt that nobody can take away from me. I don't give a fuck if it's an amateur C-class belt or what. That was the outcome of the hard work of being naturally gifted at something. Yeah. Because I was. When I was 22, we had boxing gloves at the office that I worked at. I used to work for a company called Six Pack Shortcuts. And we had jiu-jitsu mats and we had boxing gloves, and never trained. I did like maybe a year and a half or 2 years of Taekwondo when I was like 6, and a little bit of judo that I don't remember. And the teacher ended up being a pedophile. Oh. I don't actually remember. Like, it's funny because we were in judo. I remember going to judo, but I do not remember actually ever doing judo. And still to this day, I don't know what the fuck we did. Yeah. Nonetheless, all these things. And so we're 22, or I'm 22, and we're training at the office, and we had a gym in the back. And so we're rolling around, and my buddies went to state for wrestling, and he would shoot a double leg, and I'd just guillotine him over and over and over again. And it's like, dude, this guy knows how to wrestle. Mm-hmm. He just never did like submission grappling. Right? He didn't understand the submission aspect of it. And then boxing. My friend would hold pads for me or hold mitts, and I'd just crack them. Pop, 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 pop. And then we would spar in there. And I would, found out that I can 1,000% take a punch better than most people. Mm-hmm. And then B, found out that I also have a little bit of power myself too, right? And also had a decent knack for it, even though I'm blind in one eye, which is ultimately why I don't really fight anymore. I primarily do grappling because I'm blind in one eye, and it's a whole ordeal, and it's an excuse at the end of the day, right? So in a way, I also quit that too, even though I am good at it. And so all that to be said, like I was 22, and my buddy who had been boxing for like 16 years, a Greco-Roman wrestler, lots of experience in combat sports and martial arts, and he was like, dude, you give me like 3 months and I could make you a better boxer than me. And I've been doing this for a long time. And of course, me being me, I was like, nah, I was like, whatever, I don't believe you. And so here we are, 5 years later, finally, I go into this Muay Thai gym, and I was sparring 2 weeks later, right? Coach was like, damn, all right, go ahead, you can spar. And then 6 months in, I win that tournament. And it's like, it's I've done the exact opposite of what you've said my entire life. And, I'm getting to the point now where I see the kid and I'm like, can't do that no more, dude. Mm-hmm. And so, here we are. We're 17 episodes back. Editing. I have clients that I edit for.
And congratulations, by the way, dude. It gets better and better.
Thanks.
You're meeting more and more people. You're doing a hell of a job. So keep going.
There's no excuse. There is no alternative, dude. It has to happen. Mm-hmm. For this reason, dude, because I'm tired of quitting.
Yeah.
Tired of quitting, and I'm tired. It's usually just because it's just something got hard.
Yeah.
Right? And if you've rolled with me or if you've sparred with me, this probably sounds like fucking nonsense. You probably wouldn't believe what I'm saying, because if you roll with me, it's I'm very hard to tap. I'm tough as fuck. Mm-hmm. Very mentally tough when I'm rolling or sparring. And to your point, you're extrapolating this pretty much data that you're collecting on yourself, and you've put yourself in so many situations where you have now collected so much data. You're like, no, I can figure that out.
Yeah.
And I never took the time to collect that data because I would always just be good enough and I would never really work at it. But I'd be like, oh, dude, I'm not picked last ever. I would play basketball at college with a bunch of guys who were like D3 athletes, D2 athletes, and aspiring to be on the D1 squad at Sam Houston. And I would play on the courts with them, and I couldn't fucking play offense with them, but I could play defense well enough, and I was always getting picked up in those games. I would always get picked up and pick up basketball. I never fucking played basketball a day in my life until I got to college.
Yeah.
I mean, I would play with friends, but I never played basketball as a team sport, right? And so, I've had all these different avenues that I could have went down, and for one reason or another, I quit. And maybe at the end of all of this, we'll figure out, why that was, or what kept driving me to just be like, it's okay.
It's because you're human, man.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through that.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and, from the way it sounds, it's like, oh, Cosmo's done all these great things. Dude, I'm same boat. You and I are very similar. I was a pretty good athlete. I was pretty smart. Didn't have to try as much, status quo. Yeah. Like, I'm above average on everything. I quit a million times over. And I think most people, except for the anomalies, fall into the I'm not good enough to get picked or even try, or I'm good enough to be okay, but I just don't push through, whether it's a matter of the want or, something got a little hard or this thing came up and you fall back. And I think that's just part of being human. And it's fine. It's totally fine for a while. And then you have to, like you said, you're collecting that data and you have to get better. And you're like, you know what? I quit middle school soccer. That's okay. It's not going to change the trajectory of my life. But if you make it a habit and you stay in that habit, then you'll never get past that. But as you continue to grow and you learn from that and you build that fire of, I recognize that's who I am. That's who most people are. I can do this. I don't want to have to do this forever. And it's funny that we say that because, my newest endeavor has been business, and I have a couple of businesses, and actually working with Andrew and his stand-up and his first production, getting into that and kind of helping him do this production thing. It's all new things. And we look back as we're running the things that we're doing and so few people actually not only become successful, but even make it, that anytime we're having a really hard day and we're like, this is it, or something major happens and like, oh man, this may be when the house of cards comes falling down. We're like, this is when somebody quits. Today is a day that somebody out there quits. And sometimes you get pushed to that point because you have to. And quitting, I wouldn't look at it as an isolated incident. I would look at sometimes you're quitting and you're giving up. Sometimes you're pivoting. And I hate to use that corporate jargon, but I quit soccer to find football. And I found football to then find combat sports. And I found combat sports to find business, to find relationships, to find friends, to find other opportunities. And it can be practice or it can be detrimental. It can be a lesson learned or it can be who you are. And so I say this cautiously because, like I said, don't get into a habit of quitting. But if you are quitting, it has to be a springboard to the next thing. Yeah. And it has to be for a good reason. Yeah. And so I would say don't get down on the act of doing it. But as long as you're putting that energy and you're learning something and you're taking something from that and pushing it to something else, the sky's the limit. And as you're doing something, you've already had one opportunity at this before, like you said, and you said, I quit, but now you're back and you've learned lessons and you know what that feels like. And you said you've quit on a lot of other things, but it's been a springboard to who you are. And I'm looking at your beautiful family and your house and you're chasing your dreams and your passion and you have a belt here. They're all springboards to the next thing. And you're continuing to grow as a person and you're meeting people and you're building a life that we're all springboarded from the lessons you learned from that. So personally, I would look at it as sometimes you're quitting and sometimes you're pivoting and learning and getting better. And knowing you as a person, you're pretty fucking cool, man. You've done some pretty cool things. You're doing cool things. And that's what it takes. And sometimes, you're a victim of the world and shit just doesn't fly your way. But that's part of the story, man. Sometimes you fall short. Sometimes you do give it your all and you don't get there, but you will never get there unless you keep trying and you keep pushing forward. And so let that be your motivator, is that you never know. You're always going to be young. Even when you're old, you're young. You see it all the time on Instagram. So-and-so didn't make their money or do this or that until they were 20 or 30 or 40 or 60. You have one life to live. Nobody knows what happens definitively after you die. Whether you're religious or not, you can have, speculation and you can find solace and hope and faith in that. But the one thing that we do know is we're living this life. Make the most of it, man. And it's never too late. It's never done until it's done. So keep pushing forward.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And it's, I have pivoted. I've always done that. Like I have always still found something else afterwards, but it's always that, I'm my hardest critic, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm so hard on myself. And it's like, damn, like what would have happened if you'd have just stuck to this? But then on the flip side, maybe it's just something I just didn't want to really stick to that much, right? I didn't want it bad enough. But then it's always trying to find that fine balance where you're being honest with yourself and you're making an excuse.
Yeah.
Right. And it's tough. Because it's like, did you not really want it that bad? Or did you just not try that hard the little parts of it? Mm-hmm. Right. It's always been the little things, right? I can sit here and do this, no problem. Mm-hmm. But it's having the discipline to then do this and then go and edit. Yeah. Afterwards, making sure I have enough clips, making sure I'm posting every day. It's that part that takes the discipline. And to your point, it's something that you have to constantly get better at. And, a little bit of like finding those minor wins, having one of the podcast clips get 10,000 views or, taking these minor things or seeing the follower count, constantly going up. And those kinds of, you got to take those minor wins and then remind yourself of why you want to do it. And then fucking just put your head down and keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree on that. And another little nugget that I've picked up over time is that sometimes things can be overwhelming in the sense of like, I want to do this thing and I feel like it's going to be a big part of my life. There's careers and there's passions, and you can do both. Yeah. Say you are a teacher and you want to be a teacher, but you really love whatever, pottery. You're like, well, I wish I could make a living being a potter and making these things and selling my stuff online. And you start digging into it and you're like, fuck, I'm going to quit. I'm never going to make, I've made $30. I'm never going to make it. Well, if it's a discipline issue and you're not all the way in on it, it's okay to have passions and hobbies. And you can still, you find some sort of gratification off of having hobbies and passions. So you have to start finding how to sort things in life and taking that inventory and like, maybe this isn't my everything, but this is a passion of mine and I'm still gonna find enjoyment out of it. And then there's sometimes where it's, this is what I want to do and I'm going all in and you have to jump into the deep side of the pool. And I think sometimes people have a hard time differentiating. And, even in that kind of grind culture of if I'm not the best, then it's just not worth doing. I think you have to be completely honest with yourself and audit your life and audit who you are and say, I find enjoyment out of this. Maybe I'm not going to be able to make a living off of it, but it brings something to the table. But you would never know, once again, unless you start doing. And if you do that, you're more willing to try new things. So it's like, oh, I want to try fencing. I like combat sports. Never tried it. Let's see where it goes. It can be a passion. It can be a hobby of mine. And that may be the thing. I may dive into that and be like, fuck, where was this my whole life?
Yeah.
So if you're honest with yourself on things like that, then you can start categorizing it. But you have to be honest. And that kind of gets back to what we started this whole thing with. Honesty, integrity, who are you? And the point that I was making with, as an individual, who are you trying to become? And that honesty, integrity with yourself. Sometimes you let it go. Sometimes it's a piece. Sometimes it's the whole thing. Sometimes it's something over here that you didn't know, but you have to continue to keep having that drive to try. You got to keep writing that story that I keep touching on to try those things. And you never know where you're going to get until you're there. And like I said, I mean, fuck, I would imagine myself being on a stage, last week. But all of those decisions and all of those things and the quitting and putting things to the side and jumping head first put me at a point somewhere that I'm not a comedian, never want to be a comedian. I opened a show for a friend. It's a small thing, but it was a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
And
it's another chapter. It's another story.
It's another chapter and it's another story. And I think that is what more people need is continuing on those things, doing the hard things, having the grind, but also just being honest with themselves. And sometimes that's the hardest thing you can do as a person. You get down and you are your toughest critic. And you can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to yourself. And you have to keep opening those doors, seeing where they go, see what the next opportunity has in store, because you never know what's behind the next one. And you meet cool people along the way and you get to do cool shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's important. And I think honestly, that may be one way that we save the country and save the world. It's funny that I say all of these things. One of my biggest fantasies lately, I say, I've been watching this, I think they're from Portugal maybe, or Spain. It's this couple, and they lived off grid, and they started, I think he's an engineer or an architect or something, and I'm not even really sure what she does. There's no words. It's just long form, hour-long videos. They bought this little plot of land and they've been completely building up autonomously for like no money. They give out all of the plans on everything that they build, how they did it, the lessons they've learned. And I'm like, man, living in this world and going through all of the things that we go through, like that would be so cool. And I'm double-edged sword. I want to jump in and I want to do all of these things and I want to try all these things and meet all these people. And then on the other side, I want to get away from it all.
Oh yeah.
And so talking about passions and hobbies and what you want to jump in and where you want to be. I live in a small town now, and I'm telling you that I'm like fantasizing about this off-grid living situation. And then on the other hand, I always felt like I was going to live in a city and be around people. There's nothing better for me than having a cup of coffee in a bookstore surrounded by people looking at books. And so I'm like, have this like duality of existences that I'm living with, that I'm grappling with right now. And I don't know, maybe one day I'll jump in and figure it out. And that's kind of my thought of always keeping a curious mind too. And I think that's important. Along with everything else that we've said is stay curious, stay intrigued in things and looking at things. And one of the biggest things that I do before I go to bed, I usually try to listen to a podcast or read a book, or I'll go through a YouTube wormhole or something. But you never know what, like I said, you never know what's around the next corner. You never know what's in that door. You have to stay curious too. You have to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. And there's a few things to extrapolate from that, right? A few things like that you just talked about. It's like, take the pressure off of yourself. It'll turn out to be what it is, but keep trying, keep doing it, work hard at it. Don't compare yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? Theodore Roosevelt. And don't compare yourself with the top podcasters or the top ultramarathon runners or the top fighters or whatever. Your journey is your own journey, and it'll turn into what it's supposed to turn into. And just because you're seeing them where they're at now, is you're not seeing the 10, 15 years that led up to that, or, 30, 40 years of decisions that we're talking about right now, right? And the other thing was, what was the last one? It was taking the pressure off. Comparison is the thief of joy. And then you said being curious. Dude, there was one more thing I was going to extrapolate from all that. Nonetheless, the point is that you're right. I think it's a beautiful way to look at it. I think that, the root of it all is just do, have fun, do, enjoy, put effort in to whatever you're doing, including your own happiness. It takes effort to be happy. And you have to put that effort in every single day. Otherwise, you're going to allow little things to piss you off, or little things to deter you, or little things to upset you. And 99.9% of the time, they're not worth it. They don't deserve any attention. The person cutting you off in traffic is very insignificant. Put that effort into yourself. Put that effort into being happy. And just fucking have fun and see where things go. Never stop. That's what it was. Never stop dreaming. Just because you're doing something now that you really love, be curious and never stop dreaming about something else. And then if you continue to do that throughout your entire life, you're more likely going to die fulfilled than you are not. Like, the chances of you not being fulfilled, as long as you're constantly dreaming about something, being curious about something, going after a new thing or trying a new thing or doing whatever. And if you find out it's not for you, that's okay. But just keep fucking doing something. One thing, another observation I've been making lately is that, dude, a lot of people don't have friends.
Yeah.
They don't have friends. They have online constituents, but they don't have friends. Like, people that they can physically go and see, people that they can hang out with, people that are doing things. A lot of people just have their coworkers. Those aren't your friends.
No.
Sorry, coworkers. Like, they're not your friends. They can become your friend, but your coworker is not your friend. Going to happy hour with your coworkers does not replace, or it does not even fill the gaps of hanging out with your friends or getting together for the fights, or like having people around you, having a community. And that's the one thing that I'm the most fucking grateful for is the show stays booked. a lot of people talk about how that's like the part that kept them from doing it or keep them from doing it. Like maybe they started a show and they're like, fuck, I just hate the booking part.
Yeah.
As of right now, at least, the show stays booked. And I think as long as you continue to meet people and you have genuine conversations with them, then they tell somebody else and then you meet more people. And the guest issue part, or the guest part, has never been an issue. And that's something I'm very grateful for because I've always had people around, friends. We were a military family. We moved around a ton. So I got really good at making new friends because we just always left our old friends. And then on top of that, we never had anybody outside of our immediate family live around us from probably like 5 years old onwards. So I never see my family. Yeah. I just saw my great grandma this week, who I hadn't seen in 15 years.
Wow.
My grandma I haven't seen in, I don't know, maybe 10. And I'm not saying that that is good, but what I'm saying is that has always forced me to to seek out friends, not as necessarily a replacement, but to like get that community.
Everybody needs a tribe.
Everybody needs a tribe.
You have to. You can't do it on your own.
Well, you see it, and we have to get back to this. This is something that we probably talked about with Andrew and shit. Probably talked about the episode before that and the fucking episode before that.
Means it's important. But it's like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's just like we have to get back to building a community that you stay with. Honestly, this is something. So back to you talking about how like living off the grid, and that's been like something that you've been diving into. I've been diving into something similar in the sense of like, it fucking sounds cultish, right? But like having a commune.
Yeah.
Getting 100, 200 acres with my friends and us living on that. I think it's the cool, like, I think that, like, it's something that Joe Rogan's throwing around and like how many people would like try to live on that one. And that's almost cultish just because the following's so big. But I do think there is at the root of that, there is something very important about that. This whole like city shit, this is very new. This industrialization, a lot of negative stuff has come from it.
Oh yeah.
Our food is shit. Specific communities ended up getting fucked because they were told to leave their farms or leave this and come into the city and it'll be a better life and you'll make more money. And then now you have these communities that have just been screwed over by that.
Have you ever heard that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but agriculture is the worst thing that's ever happened to human civilization?
In what regard?
So before, tribes, hunter-gatherers, everybody was accountable for their shit. Yep. And you self-police. Yep. If you're going out and to do a hunt and somebody is not pulling their weight, you look them directly in the eyes. And you have to have that real confrontation of being, dude, we're not going to eat unless you do what the fuck you need to do. And that person has to take that and figure it out and get better. You bring it back, you get the glory. Everybody's living together. Men, women, the community is self-sustainable. Everybody has a piece. Everybody has a purpose. All of the things that we've been talking about this whole time, everybody has a hand in that and should be proud of what they're doing because it's necessary. Agriculture comes around. We start to lose that. We don't have to worry about our next meal for the next day or the next couple of weeks or how, until the meat spoils or the next hunt is good. We can start growing crops. And because we're growing crops, we can start storing those crops. Now we have an abundance. More people can live together. Somebody has to take care of that abundance. Somebody then has to manage that abundance. And then hierarchies start to come. And this isn't I know people are saying like, oh, he's a communist. No, I'm the furthest thing away from that. But the point is that you start down that road and it grows into this monster to where the people who are managing the money and taking care of the food and housing people, it grows into this conglomerate to where you're not looking that person in the eyes and saying, hey man, my family's hungry. I've been busting my ass. Where's our food? Oh, well, these 5 people over here who's just counting the crops are the ones who are taking it all. So there's a whole, kind of thesis about how this type of agriculture has kind of created the society we live in. And, you know, in a weird sense, I agree and disagree with it, but I think the foundational thought is exactly what you're saying. And the fact that I believe it's important for us to live in a society to where there are repercussions for actions. You have to look people in the eyes and do what they need to do. You have to network. You have to be liked. Because if you're contributing, but you're a complete asshole and nobody likes you, you're going to be cast the fuck out. And there's not enough real repercussions these days. Everything is a faux repercussion and a worry about things that don't really matter. And the life or death, we're too soft as a society. And that's what it is. And touching on the networking aspect and the friends, it coincides with this whole thought. I have this thought, and it's not original, and I actually said it the other day. I was talking to a client of ours, but would you rather have $1 million or 1 million friends? And I would take 1 million friends, 10 out of 10. Like $1 million sounds really nice, but you don't know what those 1 million people can do together. And I like that you use the word friends. The way that I grew up, I didn't have a ton of family. We did for a while. My mom had a big family. My dad had a decent sized family. We all kind of grew apart. My parents divorced. He took care of me. I kind of was cut off from my mom's side. I say cut off. I isolated. We were kind of on an island by ourselves. I was focused on me, focused on my dad. My dad was focused on himself. His family kind of dwindled down. They spread out. So it was kind of mostly him and I. So most of my friends, which then became family, which became everything else, were people that weren't blood. They were people that I hadn't met. I moved later in life. So I look around and I take inventory of the most people in my life. I had no connection. It's all built connections. Most of them don't look like me. Most of them don't talk like me. Most of them come from all different backgrounds. And in kind of a weird vessel, I've created a tribe in my own life, which I feel is important. And in that, I try to keep people who have a positive impact. As we were saying, Andrew like brings this just wealth of positivity and bringing me up and doing all of these things. He's one of those people. Everybody in my life contributes to me in a positive way. I try to contribute to them in a positive way. And we all can look each other in the eyes and say, hey man, you're fucking up. You should do this. Or I'm fucking up. I'm not pulling my slack. And it can be in any aspect, but you have to be able to have the communication with them over a long period of time to build up that trust to be able to do that. And to get back to your original point, I don't think there's enough people doing that these days, because you can talk shit on the internet and you can say this or that, but until you're looking a person in the eyes that has gotten you out of a jam, that's picked you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's given you money to pay your rent and say, man, I let you down. Or they're looking at you saying, you let me down, and there's real consequences to that because you don't want to lose that. Spouting some shit off on the internet or getting mad at the guy that didn't make your food right, that's bullshit.
Yeah. It
gets back to the tribal thing that we're talking about. It's the same guy, like, hey man, you scared the deer away and now we can't eat. I love you because we've done all of these things together, but I need to look at you in the eye, man to man, and we need to have a real talk because what you do affects me, what I do affects you. And I feel like in this world, once again, you can't change everything, but you can change those of the people that you're around. And you need to create a tribe that's honest with each other. And just like you were saying and being honest, talking about I quit and I did this and I did that. And I'm looking at you with empathy saying, man, I'm there. We're sharing this. And so the next time that you and I do something together and we're looking at it and we're like, dude, we're both honest. We know we know our shortcomings in this. And we're doing something and it's hard and you're like, oh man, I may quit. Or I'm the same way. Oh man, this is getting hard. I don't know if I want to do this. I look at you like, come on, man. I know you. We can do this. I got you. Whatever you need. If you need a pep talk, if you need me to take you there, if you need me to do this. And that is what builds real relationships. And that's what we need as a society. And that's what most people need with themselves. And they've never felt that because they're hiding behind a keyboard. They're locking themselves in the house. they're not engaging with people anymore. And I think that's one reason that fantasy feels so good, because I'm getting so just pushed away from everything that society as a whole is. It's like, fuck it. I've built what's mine and I like that. Let's all go build that commune, and we can do this by ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is what is kind of that like, oh, that feels so good, because I trust those people.
Yeah. And I think it might be the only thing that fucking saves us. Getting back to these smaller factions, because look, I mean, there's a lot of hard reality going on right now. And, you know, you can say like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or you can brush it off, or you can just try not to pay attention to the reality of what's going on politically, or what's going on with the world and the World Economic Forum. You can write it off as a conspiracy theory, whatever the fuck you want to say that helps you sleep at night. Mm-hmm. But the fucking reality is, we are and of course, I'm sure everybody throughout history has probably said this, but I was talking to a buddy the other day, and I was like, dude, I think we're truly at I think we're truly at what everybody was scared of. Mm-hmm. Like, there's two things emerging at the same time, and both of which kind of go hand in hand, and only one of them you can kind of see the positives of, and the other one not really so much. We're seeing both the rise of socialist communism, and we're seeing the emergence of AI. They're both happening at the same time. And, you know, when you were growing up, you're always hearing like, oh, that won't happen here. Mm-hmm. Oh, that won't happen here. No, don't worry about that. No, don't pay attention to that. That's just, you're bringing unnecessary stress to yourself. Well, here the fuck we are, ignoring it for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And here we are, and communism is here. Mm-hmm. We have people cheering for it. We have people saluting it. They have been beaten down so badly. Whether it was life, whether it's social media, whether it's propaganda, whatever it is, they've been beaten over the head so badly that now they are turning to socialism. When we know without a shadow of the fucking doubt, it does not work. I learned about a perfect example yesterday that I thought was incredibly fascinating. That this is something I didn't know. And we talked about it with Daniel the Manchild. So we had Manchild on. He's from Australia. I love talking to immigrants and asking. He's not technically an immigrant. He's just over here training. But I love talking to people who come from other countries and gaining their perspective on why they want to come here.
Yeah.
Because the answer is always the fucking same. It's always opportunity, and a lot of them say guns. Mm-hmm. Those are two real driving factors of people coming over here because they've seen the outcome of 30, 40 years of no guns, of no opportunities, of poor social systems. And they fucking come here for a reason. And the people who live here have gotten so soft and have gotten so comfortable. They're not grateful for what we have, because we have it differently than any other place. And the example that I learned about was Holland, actually. And so Holland, they have a lot of social programs. Mm-hmm. They have a very strong socialist system that takes care of the people of Holland. Anytime you hear of that place or you hear people from there, that's one of those like real small areas that it worked in a very like small population, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that is where socialism does work, is in small populations, right? And it goes back to what you were saying, how, you know, with communes, you know, we pulled it up. There's a famous quote that Naval talked about, that it wasn't him who said it, but he's quoting somebody else. So he's talking about where, like, within his family, he's a dictator. Within his community, he's a socialist. Within his local government, he's a Democrat. Within his state government, he's more conservative. And with his federal government, he's a libertarian. And I think if we all got back to that, or fucking understand what he's actually saying, the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
Communities would be stronger. You would have more friends. We wouldn't have these terribly ran cities, this terrible infrastructure. As a country, the U.S. is very far behind from an infrastructure standpoint. We don't got a 300 mile per hour train. Why? Well, bureaucracies, bullshit. We could have the same trains Japan does. Japan just came out with a 1 million gigabyte per second internet. How come we don't have that? We're the richest. We're the biggest, most successful country of all time, but our infrastructure is not up to par, right? A lot of it's bureaucracies, a lot of it's corruption, a lot of it is X, Y, and Z, focused on the wrong fucking things. And that's because there's a constant power grab here in the US, because the rest of these other places, there's already power in place, right? Like in Australia, they did not have. Sydney was one of the most locked down cities in the entire world. Melbourne, well, they're next to each other. Melbourne, Sydney, the most locked down area in the world, maybe outside of China. He was explaining that they weren't able to go even more than a couple of 5 kilometers from their house without the proper papers. And we're talking about Australia. This is a country that a lot of Americans, virtue signaling to the fucking world, look at and go, that's a safe haven. That's a utopia. That's what we should be like. And it's like, whoa, wait, hold on, chill, bro. They couldn't go further than 5 kilometers of there. He was talking about an entire apartment complex that they just completely locked down. And you were not allowed to leave that apartment complex at all. People are dying, starving to death in those apartment complexes. I met a guy when I was in Thailand that was in China during the initial lockdown. And he said the Chinese government told them that the lockdown will only be like 48 hours, 72 hours. So just go to the store, get enough stuff for those couple of days, and you'll be fine. Well, it turned out to be a fucking months, year lockdown. And they would come by and they would drop food off every month. And people were dying and starving to death in their apartments because they were told they could not leave. That should terrify everybody. Yeah. Even how much we had lockdowns here should be terrifying. Even what we pulled up at the very beginning with Jasmine Crockett spewing that garbage, that's terrifying. The BBC splicing Donald Trump saying we should march to the Capitol and we should fight like hell, knowing damn well those two things were 52 minutes apart. And then they spliced it and they put it together to make it seem like he started this violent insurrection. Doesn't matter what side of the political fucking spectrum you fall on. You should be pissed off about that as an American. And we've talked about it 1,000 times, but the George Washington farewell speech sums up every fucking thing that we're going through so perfectly to the T. And one of the biggest things that he talks about is to avoid political division and that we are Americans first, no matter what. And we have to get back to that. And there's just so much, again, there are now so many people turning to socialism, even though history after history after history after history tells you that this shit gets coerced and co-opted and then it turns into communism instantly. And the fact that people are turning to it, even though we know it can't work. Mondami's policies in New York City, it's impossible. You cannot have a $30 minimum wage. No. As wonderful and as beautiful and as utopia as that sounds. Oh, fuck, I got off on a tangent. Holland. So Holland, again, very strong social systems, very good social networks. Not a lot of people fall in that country who doesn't get propped it up and picked back up. But what they realized was that their social systems worked that way because what you were talking about, everybody in that society was contributing. Mm-hmm. But then what happened? Well, Holland has a very, very progressive or passive immigration laws and asylum laws. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people from wherever, Africa, the Middle East, other non-Westernized countries, they were going to Holland, and they were taking advantage of their very loose immigration laws, and they're now then all on the social systems because they were coming from not very wealthy countries. They didn't have a lot of money. Then they come across and they get on Holland's welfare, or they get on Holland's food stamps, or they get on whatever, right? Free buses, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, turns out that Holland has now decided, because they did the math, or they ran the studies from 1999 onwards, they realized that their entire social system was collapsing due to this. And they had the common sense to come together, as both the Republicans and Democrats came together and had an agreement that they were not going to do that no more. So they have shut down immigration. They are now banning any Muslim culture in Holland, in the sense of you're not coming in there still wearing hijabs. You're not coming and getting the call of prayer announced on the city speakers. And whether or not you agree or disagree with that, the point of what they're doing is they have gotten to the point where they've realized the detriment of what is happening, that their social systems are collapsing due to this very sympathetic nature. Mm-hmm. They've now applied common sense, and they're now like, look, when you come over here, these are the rules that you have to follow. You're going to assimilate with Holland's culture. There is no bringing your shit with you, mm-hmm. because that's the whole reason why you left.
Yeah.
And as two white men sitting here talking about this, right? The person who told me this is my buddy from Ukraine, who immigrated over here because of the war in 2014 and came over here because of that. And he's like, dude, like this, from his perspective, and anytime you talk to any immigrant, I feel like if you actually have a conversation with a lot of these guys, they fucking all agree.
Yeah.
I don't actually really understand where, again, I think it goes back to what we're talking about. People live online. They don't have any friends. Mm-hmm. And so I often make the jokes of like the people deciding that we should make the Little Mermaid black, or we should do X, Y, and Z, are often just a bunch of white people sitting around a fucking round table. They have no black friends.
Yeah.
They have no, clearly people who are saying that you shouldn't assimilate into Western culture, you probably don't actually know any immigrants. Mm-hmm. You're thinking that you're being righteous and you think you're being empathetic, when in reality you're being sympathetic, and that does no one any good.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was fascinating because they just completely did a 180. They're like, no, fuck this. We can't do this anymore, because the people of Holland were struggling. They realized that people of Holland couldn't afford houses anymore. They realized that the benefits in medical systems were bogged down, and people from Holland, the people of Holland, could not get into the doctor's office no more. They couldn't buy houses. Their inflation rate was going up. And so America first, make America great again, make Holland great again, make Holland great, whatever. They applied common sense. And then now they're starting to see everything start to go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking obvious what is going on here. And we have to get back to America first, because houses are $420,000 on average across the entire country.
Yeah, no, we have major issues, and it's a hard thing to dissect, because you have, and we're dealing with so many things. I mean, you have bots who are, from foreign countries, internal countries. You have psyops. You have all of these things. You have people who don't give a shit, who are just trying to milk the teat of the government. You have people who do care, who are in a bad position. And as I'm saying all of these things, it doesn't matter race, creed, color, religion, anybody who you are, we're America. That's the cool thing. We're a melting pot. It's a little bit of everything. Who are trying to go through all of this. And it's hard. I've actually, as a person, I would say outside of today, because the definitions have changed, I would say in an ideal situation, in Jordan and Cosmo's commune, honestly, I'm a very democratic, socialist type person. If we're all pulling our weight and we're all throwing in, if you're sick, you need help, by all means, let me help you.
To what they were, 20 years ago.
Yes. Right. And so the problem is when you have so many people who are trying to take advantage of it for one reason or another, or different countries who are trying to have an effect on this for one reason or another, or the biggest elephant in the room, and this is a bipartisan issue, is the bureaucrats who are in it for themselves. They're trying to get re-election. They're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to pass a policy that their side and their donors like. And that's what convolutes things. And when people keep passing the buck, just waiting for their time to take their own, eventually it's going to catch up. And I do feel like, we have been an economic power, a military power, a supreme power in the world, in that we've been able to bolster ourselves as the leading nation in so many different ways that we have a little bit more give. And in because of that, and because of our way of life, we are able to be more what should be empathetic, but are sympathetic in certain aspects to help people. And damn it, if you're number one, you should. But when you bog down the system and you break the system, that becomes a problem. And, fixing all of it, there's so many things that need to be corrected. The only thing I can think of is kind of going back to what this whole conversation is, and it's that individual accountability to your community, and the power lies within the people. And that's the one foundational thing that makes America what it is. And because of that, the only thing I genuinely feel that can turn the tides of everything is a kind of a grassroots style movement of accountability that starts with one and goes across 300 million other people. Because as we're saying here, we're both empathetic people and we want to help people as much as we can, but you can't help somebody else unless you help yourself first. And we're getting so far behind the 8 ball on trying to, okay, we're going to try to take care of our neighbor, or we're going to try to take care of someone across the country. Now we're going to try to take care of our neighbor. Now we're going to try to take care of ourselves. And it's getting harder and harder and harder. And we're getting behind the payments, the social payments of who we are as a country, that you can't bail somebody else out if you're in debt yourself. And it's so weird and convoluted because the media and the social media is keeping us all so busy and divisive on everything that people are scared to even. It's so interesting when you have a conversation with somebody, because it's, what's your belief on this? Is it A or B? Who do you trust in this? Is it A or B? And to be quite frank, I feel like most of those topics are all bullshit. It's things that have been created, not problems that are there. So first and foremost, that's all bullshit. Second of all, you shouldn't approach a problem with a multiple choice answer. Things are gray. Things are always gray.
They require nuance.
And it requires nuance and thought and some energy. And in doing so, I think that our government as a whole needs to say, hey, we're in a state of emergency right now. We have all of these things going on. We have a declining population. We have a declining economy, a debt ceiling that keeps going through the roof. We have a bipartisan thought process that both sides have been right, wrong. The goalposts have moved. What is a Republican isn't what a Republican was 20 years ago. What is a Democrat isn't what a Democrat was 20 years ago. And kind of to your point, we're getting away from America first, and it's turning into a teams thing. And as we've been saying, tribes are big. It's innate in us. It's why football is so big, and voting for the right person is so big, because you get so emotionally involved. And if you're ignorant on it, how many people are yelling at a TV that have no idea what football is, but they're wearing the right or wrong colors? It's the same thing we're going through. And The only solution that I can think is, I don't mind if I disagree with somebody, but you have to have a point and a rebuttal. Sometimes we can agree and disagree. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. You're not right. I'm not right. But a lot of these solutions, or a lot of these problems, have solutions that we can both agree on, no matter what political spectrum you're on, because it's an issue that needs to be solved. And it's the same thing that we're talking about. If the guy misses the deer in the hunt, I don't care what he thinks or what he's going through. Like, a problem is a problem. And so I keep going back to this accountability thing. Somebody keeps going, well, it's Donald Trump's problem, or it's Bernie Sanders' problem, or it's whoever's problem. It's our problem. Like you said, if I'm trying to buy a house, I can't afford it. If I'm trying to get a job, I can't get it. If I'm trying to get a role in a movie, I can't get it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Things are getting harder and harder to get to. So at a certain point, if nobody else is willing to do it, we need to do something as a society and say, hey, America is a great country, was a great country, will be a great country. We can't throw in the towel and say we quit and we're just going to let it happen. We as individuals need to step up and say, okay, what is bullshit? What is the worst thing in the room? Well, first and foremost, misinformation. Why is there misinformation? Well, because a lot of these people are in it for the wrong reasons. I think it's fascinating and scary that we have people who become politicians who they set out to do that as a career.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
It is.
We have a
sociopathic behavior, and then you get some of them that are psychopaths.
Yeah. We have a role in society that the job is, I am so good at making decisions for the whole of the world that I'm going to make that my career. What is your background? What have you experienced to do that? Well, I was a poli-sci major, and then I became a lawyer, and then I ran for local office, and then I became XYZ, and I worked my way there. Okay, well, did you ever run a business? Were you ever, some of them did, some of them were in the military, some did this, that. But like, have you ever managed people? Have you ever, I'm the secretary of the railroad. Do you know anything about it? Most of the time they don't.
No, they're appointed. It's a some kind of nepotism, some kind of buddy system. And it's just how it fucking works. And I think that's why, getting back to communes, small communities, and being self-sufficient, I think is outside of an unfortunate bloody revolution.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, because look, at the end of the day, there's 300 million of us, and there's really only 200 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a numbers game.
That's their fucking reality of it, right? Like, that is the reality of it. They couldn't stop that. If we all decided together, which we should be at that fucking point, and it goes back to accountability. Like, it's just the fact that she could say, like, it just that you can get on there, say those things, and then instead of having to say you were wrong, or that you fucked up, or that your team missed it, the fact that you can just spew a lie and your team's going to cheer for you and the other team's going to be like, what the fuck? No, we should all be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it should go either way, right? Again, the BBC thing should be infuriating.
Yeah.
The BBC, the CEO had to step down. It's a really big deal. And I hear no one on one side talking about it.
No
you should be
accountability.
pissed off either way, because you were blatantly, honestly, I think you should be even more mad if you still even because now you have to take a step back and be like, holy shit, dude, I've been mad about something that really wasn't even what it was.
Yeah.
January 6th was not this fucking violent resurrection. Like, it was not this violent thing at all. The guy who died later from a heart attack. There was 270 federal agents there being provocateurs. With George Floyd, all those bricks just magically showing up, like these kinds of things. You should be mad that you have been led to believe certain things, and that they have been able to extrapolate such a reaction from you that you now call every single person on the other side a Nazi, or that you are flipping somebody off every time you see a Cybertruck because you think they're representing this. Whatever you think, I don't even know I don't even know what the thought process is there, because I mean, anyways, but whatever you think they're representing, that you feel this violent urge inside of you to flip them off every time, or people who are blowing up Tesla factories, or people who are kicking Tesla, or whatever, right? All these different things that they have been able to extrapolate such a extreme and violent response out of you based on bullshit.
Yep.
You should take a step back in whatever fashion, whether it's a psychedelic trip, whether it's just having a real conversation with yourself. Take a step back and be like, holy shit, like, you should be upset that you have allowed them to control you to that point.
Yeah.
Because it's a mind virus.
Well, yeah, and that was going to be kind of my second point is, first, we have to figure out why these people are here to begin with, because most of them don't have the credentials to be there. Second is we have to get the truth and the facts. We have to make sure that the information that we as the people are getting is the correct information. And what can we do with that? Okay, we have the facts. We know what the problems are. Now, okay, let's take account of what problems are happening in the world. Okay, maybe we have a financial problem. Well, who's the best at finance? Let's put them in control of that. Okay, maybe we have an infrastructure problem. Who's the best in construction?
But man, I think at this scale, I think it never works.
It never works. It never will.
Because human nature will not allow it to.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why we keep coming back to the same thing. I watched a video on Instagram the other day where this guy was explaining it. I don't even remember the fella, who it was, or why this video was.
Don't mind me. I'm just going to let Caitlin know I'm still alive here.
No, you're good, dude. Why I was listening to it or whatever. But essentially this video is saying that you got about 10 years to stack up your stuff, get your property, learn your skills, and to become self-sufficient, because collapse is imminent. And I think outside of all of us coming together and being like, fuck this, we're not going to do this anymore, which just seems to get further and further, which I don't know that that's necessarily reality. I think COVID woke a lot of people up, and I think more and more people are coming around to these ideas and to understanding that it's not one side or another that is lying to you. It's both sides are lying to you. It's that like there's an agenda. They don't want to fix these issues, because if they fix the issue, why are they still there? The government's largely not needed. Mm-hmm. It should be as small as humanly possible, and that was Elon's goal, and they took none of those recommendations, and that was very quickly when we learned, like, oh, shit, dude, well, okay, this is about to be the same, right? And to Trump's credit, I think he has done a lot of things that he said he was going to do. There's just one thing that we just fucking, for whatever reason, we can't get past. We cannot get past Israel's hands in our pot, and we can't get past bureaucracies.
Yeah.
And, the Israel thing is interesting because we've been their biggest ally, or they've been our biggest ally for a very long time. And one of the things in George Washington's farewell speech is he says to avoid long-term alliances without no exceptions. That you can be friends, you can be cordial, and they can be temporary alliances in times of need, like World War II, right? That was a valid excuse or a valid reason for all of us to come together in that regard. But outside of those kinds of once in a generation type things, we should avoid these entanglements and avoid these and avoid these long-term alliances. And we're seeing the repercussion of it right now. Where 37 states, you can't boycott Israel. Texas is one of them. If you work for the state of Texas. And the way that I've heard it explained is that even if you criticize the government of Israel, We've looked it up. It's kind of hard to find, and it could be like an interpretation of the law maybe. But the law says you cannot boycott Israel. If you work for the state, and there's 37 states with a few more that are coming on board that have passed this. And it's been since 1970, 1970 something. Do you remember?
1969.
It's somewhere in that ballpark, right? Late 60s, early 70s. This has been beginning and like taking place. And another thing that we keep coming back to, ain't nobody coming to save your ass.
Nope.
No one's coming to save your ass. If shit hit the fan, this is what I wanted to talk about. We were talking about Elon earlier. And, people hear this like, let's go to Mars type thing. And they think either A, they think it's impossible, or B, they think it's silly and it's a waste of money, which is why NASA's never gotten the funding that it's gotten, or that it probably should have. It's the reason why we have no answers to asteroids, even though there's a ginormous one the size of Manhattan in our solar system right now. And there seems to be very few people who give a fuck.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to pass by on my birthday in December. So happy birthday to me. Isn't that a trip?
It is. It's the size of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Made out of solid metal. And very few people give a fuck, which is, to our point, people have given up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see Elon doing these extraordinary things, dude, we should be encouraging that, because we have no answers to asteroids. We're in the coolest period of the Earth. If we hit another ice age, boy, there's not going to be many of us that make it. And then people always have the same fucking, if they don't care about it, they're always like, well, then I'll just die anyways. Fuck that. That sounds miserable. We're already on here for a finite amount of time. I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that I exist for as long as I possibly can. Because once it's done, as far as we know at this moment, unless we're in the Matrix, in a simulation, and we get to restart this shit, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And if you're at a point in your life where you don't want that to continue, I'm sorry that you're at that point. And I hope that you can find the reason to keep it going, because it's always worth it.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's always worth it. Some of my most favorite episodes that I've done on this, or some of my favorite episodes that I've listened to on X podcast, it's always the same thing. It's always someone who has had the entire world dumped on their fucking head, molested as a child, have lost several friends, family members. They have constantly just been smacked across the face. And when those things happen, you have two choices. You can give up, or you can keep going. And that's why your ultramarathon story is so important, because again, the grand scheme of things is the fucking run. It's not your profession. Nobody would have cared, but you would have cared.
Yeah.
It would have affected you. And that ultimately matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why it was worth finishing.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't quit, even though anybody would have been like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Your AC went out. You just brought home a new kid. You guys didn't train as much. You were probably drinking a little too much. Everybody would have just been like, oh, okay, Cozmo, that makes sense. But you would have been upset, and it might not have been in that moment, because even in that moment, you probably would have justified it to yourself. But it's what you said at the very beginning, or like, a little bit in the middle there, where you were saying, my biggest fear is laying on my deathbed and looking back on life on all the things I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have came back up.
Yep.
Because you knew that you were physically capable, that you were going to finish it. You knew you were going to finish it, regardless of everything else that was happening. You knew that you were going to finish that race, or at least you knew you were going to fucking try to finish that race.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one less thing on your deathbed that you're going to be like, fuck. And I think we should all be striving to limit how many of those things we go, fuck, at the very end of it. And again, all that to be said, it's just like, we have no answers for asteroids. There's a asteroid or comet or alien spacecraft that is flying around the size of Manhattan. And getting off this planet or having the option to become an interplanetary species.
Yep.
Something like that. Having that option could ultimately save us, because if another asteroid hits, or if this asteroid hits, we're cooked.
Yeah.
Because we have no answer, and there's been no money that's gone to it.
Yeah, and I think just hearing all of that, it's interesting because the arc of this whole conversation keeps coming back to accountability, perseverance, belief, all of these things that are the hero's journey that are tales as old as time. And they're important to humans because that's what it takes. And we as people are special because we're here and we're living this life. And we're, as far as we know, the only ones of ourselves. And even if we're not, we're still here doing this thing. So we need to take some pride in who we are, take some accountability in who we want to become. We need to work hard to get there. We need to take care of ourselves as individuals and as a group and as a country and as a world. And it's as complex as it is, and the whole metaphorical stories that we've told across this podcast and all of the things that we've talked about, it all keeps coming back to the same handful of core values that make us humans. And that's what we need. And we need to preserve that because we are special. And if you don't feel, just like you said, if you don't feel like you're special and you want to end it, well, I want to keep going on. They want to keep going on. So if you don't want to do that, stand over there, because we're going to keep persevering and taking care of it, taking accountability, fixing shit, making it better, getting off this planet, going to another one, spreading, those same thoughts and core values to everybody that we can, and becoming, and for whatever this is, let's be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And God damn it, don't let anybody else try to stop us, because at the end of it, this might be all that we have. And we damn sure need to make sure that we're doing what we can to be the best that we can and keep it going.
You goddamn right, because this could be the fucking last opportunity for humans to exist, because AI is coming no matter what. And it's emerging. Robots are emerging. I think there's going to be people who live in, that Ready Player One style world. And then I hope that we have the option to be like, y'all can go live in that city, and y'all can put that headset on, and y'all can go live in VR, and y'all can go live outside reality like most of y'all fucking do already. Y'all can go do all that. As long as I hopefully have the choice to come over here with my friends and my family and my commune and my community and live in real world, and the rest of y'all can go fuck off over there. Unfortunately, that's probably not how this goes. Those two things often don't get to coexist.
Which, it's the micro and the macro. From the individual to the community, everything that we've been talking about, that is the answer, my friend. It starts with you, and it carries over to others. And, because if we're talking about our world to other worlds, we're talking about our country to other countries, we're talking about our community to other communities, we're talking about ourselves to other individuals. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from our conversation that we've had, is it starts with you. And I know this almost sounds like a big, and there it is, there's our pitch, but it is the most important thing, because it's about control and what you believe to be is right. And everybody wants to tell everybody what they believe is right. But the one thing that you can control is yourself. And if you don't have control of that, which I don't feel like most people do, if you're not happy with that and you're not striving to do that and you're not trying new things, all of the shit that we've been talking about, then you need to shut the fuck up.
1000%. And if you're still fucking on social media, virtue signaling to the world how good of a person you are, but you're still yelling at the server, you're still yelling at your barista because they fucked your coffee up or your food's cold or whatever the fuck, and you're yelling at those people, shut the fuck up. Go have some accountability. Account for yourself. Stop fucking getting on social media and thinking you're this good person because you post about whatever topic they told you to post about this week. Fucking be good in the real world and let it spread like we've been talking about. Let's wrap this shit up, dude.
Yeah, I think we're good. And I will end it on that. For those of you who don't feel like they have a choice and you need to step into the jiu-jitsu gym, you want to start a business, you want to do that thing, feel free to hit me up. I will show you the door to all of those. I know Jordan will too. So don't use that as an excuse. If you're going to take anything away, no excuses. Get it done. There's going to be somebody here for you.
1000%. Brother, beautiful conversation. You have a wonderful mindset. We're going to have to do it again. We didn't even talk about you running for mayor. We never even actually got to the cabinetry business and how it opens. And so we'll do all this shit again, dude. We'll do it a lot. That's the beautiful thing about it is we just get to do it again and it's an excuse to hang out.
Hey, anytime, brother.
Yeah, dude. Anything you want, shout out or anything.
Man, it's kind of funny. I don't even have anything to plug. So my business, Cozmo Lewis Bespoke, that's my light GC side. Furniture Medic in Cedar Park, that's my woodworking shop. That's basically my life. Other than that, check out my boy Andrew, check out my boy Jordan, Half Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Dead Game Boxing across the way there. I'm sure I'm missing people, but yeah, there's a million things out there. Go make it your own. Those are mine. If you want to be in that world, get in that world. If you don't, find your passion, brother.
Fuck yeah, dude. Let's get out of here. Dog's getting hungry. Baby's getting cranky. And my fucking nose needs to be blown. So I very much appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being here. We'll do it again.
Thank you too, bro.
Awesome, brother.